Okay, we're gonna get started then. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Town of Miami Lakes Cultural Affairs Committee. My name is Neil Robinson. I serve as the chairperson for the Cultural Affairs Committee. Today is Monday, August 23rd. The time that we are calling the meeting to order is 7:10. We don't have a quorum of all our committee members present, so we will not be able to take action on any item until I get two more people to arrive. So we're hoping that they will be here this evening. But what we will do is call the roll at this point and call the meeting to order. Our secretary, Elsa, would you call the roll?
Yes. Elsa Reus, Neil,
Present.
Esther Colon. Esther is there. Mireles. Charles.
All right. At this time, we will entertain public comments. Today, I'm pleased to say that we have a full house and a lot of people have comments that they'd like to make this evening. So starting off with the, I believe it's the individuals from last meeting. We're going to try to limit your speaking time to 3 minutes, please, if at all possible, because we have so many people who want to speak this evening. So I also want to take this opportunity to welcome, I think we got 3 chairs tonight of the various committees. The chairperson for the Educational Advisory Committee, we have the chairperson for the Special Needs Committee, and I don't see the gentleman from yet from the Veterans. Okay. No, you can just read it. You can enter into the public record when you're called on. All right. All right. So the first people who would like to make a comment, please come up front here, and we can. Is that good there, Willie? Oh, right over there. I think you first. Yes. Please say your name and who you are with, please.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Nelson Pena on behalf of the Tommy T Foundation. We were asked last meeting to return with the artist. I did manage to get her to show up today. She didn't show up last time because she had a family emergency. But luckily, she returned to town about a week and a half or 2 ago. She was actually able to do a different rendition with the actual building. This is one of the windows that actually is part of the building. And then the painting will be all around it. Is that what's going on? I apologize. But I think I'd like to turn it over to her because you guys had questions for her.
Great.
And so if you want to start with the questions and then she can fill in the blanks, so you guys feel more comfortable.
May we have the artist's name, please?
Sure.
Good evening, everyone, board members. Thank you for having us tonight. The microphone. Okay. I understand you have questions for me. Maybe I should be here.
First, let me welcome you. Just for those members who don't know why they're here to talk about the possibility of painting a mural on the youth the youth center here in the town of Miami Lakes. And the last time we had some questions about what the rendering is going to look like, and we wanted to meet the artists, and then we wanted to get a price of what it's going to cost for that they're looking for us to support. So, Ms. Luce, would you share with us what your concept is, please?
Well, the most expensive item of the expenses, it's
Get the mic on.
talking about the expensive.
Get the mic on. Okay. Okay. The lift. Yep.
We also submitted to Suzanne. Yes, as far as IG account. Maybe she provided you guys the IG account, but also look at that while you're here this evening. See a lot of work that she's done. A lot of our full days, things like that.
Test one.
But other extensive collection of our IG account, even though it doesn't include everything.
Testing 1, 2, 3, better.
Better.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? So let me understand that is the door or a window there at the black
This is a
spot.
window, these are all windows, this is your actual building.
So it's gonna be on the actual,
You can't see it now because it's been 3D with paint visuals. And
Good.
then because of the building being surrounded by trees and
Trees.
limbs and things like that, the paint has also incorporated that at the edges.
It's like
So
a
it's-
continuation of the area
okay,
within the wall, so that the children that are playing right across to here, to this window, there is like a playground.
In this area here is a big playground.
Right.
That's a-
yes.
That playground faces that wall.
And these two are the air conditionings at the bottom of this wall,
Oh, I didn't know what that
the
was.
existing air conditioning.
Okay. All right. Well, is there any other question or comment from?
Well, to recap, you said that it's $1,500
It's approximately,
approximately. for the
yes.
equipment.
Yes.
The equipment.
For the lift.
Yeah, for the lift.
Yes.
Exactly, for the lift. And then $600
Approximately
for paint.
$600,
So
yes,
we're talking about what, $2,100?
close.
And your fee?
I'm donating my time to the Tommy T Foundation, and you have already spoken to them about,
Right, and by the way, it's like a 2 week commitment. This is gonna take about 2 weeks actually. But that's with the budget.
So let me understand. You said the lift is about $1,500. Is that for 1 week or for the duration of?
2
the time that
weeks.
you would do?
It's about 2 weeks, but that's an average. I obtained 3 estimates, and between, that's close to 2 weeks. It's
Okay.
a little less, some of them a little less, but
So 2
approximately
weeks.
1,600
Okay, thank you.
approximately.
That's 600 for the.
Yes. Right. These are these kids are reading and they're playing different sports. And the reason I put these out there is because the background does not allow for this sport to be in action, because they required different kinds of setups on the ground. So that's why I put them there.
Okay.
Okay.
Just want to make sure that we go on record that we try to do a diversity of youngsters on here. It looks like you captured a lot of that.
Yes.
That was what the inclusive, yes. Great, great.
I believe that it's something we definitely
Well, we thank you so very much for your
Thank you all.
presentation.
I apologize for
and
not
we're
being here
pleased to meet
before.
you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, next up is we have Mr. Diamond. Ricky Diamond. Huh? Yeah, we need to put time. All right, Mr. Diamond, we got a timer on you. We have a timer on you because we've got other people who've got to make a presentation as well. So please,
Mr. Diamond's first name.
Ricky. The famous, the infamous.
I've been looking more into some of the other programs you have.
Can you hear me? Is that better? Okay. I started seeing more of the community outreach that has been very motivated to help these wonderful programs that you guys are doing such a wonderful job in. But ultimately, the programs need funding. The funding comes from the town. So if we can do something to reinvigorate and bring in some more supplemental monies to have more programs, to have a wider variety of programs, and perhaps give more than what they're trying to do. A lot of these organizations are asking for X amount, and because of the budgets, they get a fraction of that. I want to help fill that gap, like gap insurance. I want to help do something that's wonderful and positive that is definitely going to the resources that it's tended for. I was looking at the veterans initially, but when I had the opportunity to open my eyes by your mayor, and he says, we have all these other wonderful programs. And I said, oh my gosh, I never knew that it was such, going on, but it's great. My thing is veterans. I'm a Marine. Now it's great to plant a tree, and it's great to put a brick, and it's great to put a memory of a veteran, but what are we doing for the veterans that are in crisis? That was my big stick. So I said, if we have more money, we're able to do more stuff like Operation Sacred Trust, or instead of pushing the responsibility on to the VA and allowing them to source it out to HUD-VASH and things like that, we had a new affordable housing that went up. How many veterans that are in crisis for housing for their families that are low income had the opportunity to even be in there? I understand that got filled up in March, but HUD-VASH has been around for quite some time. And if we are doing something wonderful for the veterans, let's go that extra mile and try to help them out. But on top of that, let's not forget about the others that are in a similar parallel, not only the veterans, but the children with special needs. I was born a premature child, 6 months. Gosh darn it, if the odds were not against me, I can't tell you what was. And look who I am today. You can't shut me up with a flamethrower. So
You've got 55 minutes, 55 seconds.
I got 55 minutes.
55
Yeah, on record,
seconds.
55 minutes. We can do this all day. I wanted to bring a source here that you guys heard before. This man is a pillar of his community. He has done this for countless years. He has raised funds for the City of Miami Police Department. He has done stuff with cancer. He has done so many to count. I can't even begin. But this man, Mr. Charlie Rodriguez, has been a pinnacle member of our society. I look up to him. I mentor him. I always go to him for guidance and tutelage. And he has always been there for me. Mr. Charlie Rodriguez is a retired police officer. He is a family man, and he knows how to run these things with his eyes closed, tied, his hands tied behind his back. And we can do this all day and night, back to back. So I want to bring Charlie and throw him into the lion's den. Unless you guys have something for me, I am all yours.
No,
Here I am.
Mr. Rodriguez, you're on. 3 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Diamond.
I didn't pay to say any of that. No, as Ricky said, since the mid 80s till today, my hobby has been to do shows, to put the community together, 5, 10, 15,000, whatever amount of people. It started as a hobby. Now it's become a profitable hobby, and I enjoy doing it. But aside from making money, you need to give back as well. There's no need making all this money if you can't share it with people in the community. So I've done a few shows in your town, a few clubs over here, restaurants. I've donated my time for the cancer cause with Roberto Alonso. Doing a in Miami Lakes would be nice. It's a venue, it's a city I haven't been to do a large show. So when Ricky brought this to my attention, let's go ahead and do it. And to do an event, it's complicated. It's not like, you know, when it's another course. Takes a lot of money. I can do a show from the budget of 200,000, 250, but that doesn't make a difference. What makes a difference is what money is returned to you, to the people that need it most. What I pledged to Ricky was, I'll give you 20% of my profits for you to distribute it to the foundations of your choice. In exchange, I'm asking for a venue that you can provide that could hold roughly 5,000, so we don't get too crazy. That would include parking for about 800 to 1,000 cars to hold about 5,000 people. I get the people there, I can produce the show there, but to offset some of my costs, provide me with a venue that could hold about 5,000 people. Provide fire, police, and if we need any fencing. Because it's an outdoor facility, there's no seating, so I got to draw people to an outdoor event where they need to stand. That in itself is a hard sell. I'm not going into a venue that everybody recognizes that it's an easy sell. Doing a show at an outdoor field where no one's done before to get folks, you know, a few thousand people is a sell. Why am I willing to do it? It's in Miami Lakes. Already the folks that go to my shows live in your city, and I know they'll attend the shows over here. So that's why I'm here before you tonight, to see if you would like to go into that partnership by providing a venue, and I'll do the rest of the work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so
You're very
much.
welcome.
Just for those in the audience, they came to us at our last meeting, and I asked them to come back. And this time I asked them to bring support for this, because there will be at least 3 committees, the Veterans Committee, Cultural Affairs, and Special Needs Committee will receive what you just named. 20% of your profit will go to each of these committees
That's correct.
if we're able to work out something. Again, I cannot take action this evening because I don't have a quorum, but we have the information that you provided to us, and we thank you so very much for sharing. And we know of you, Mr. Rodriguez, and your years in promoting different shows throughout Dade County, and we look forward to hopefully being able to participate with you in this concert that we have been discussing, especially from our last meeting and tonight. We look forward to being able to get back to you as soon as we can assemble a quorum. This is unusual for us this evening. Usually we have a quorum, but we understand that a couple of members are ill this evening and not able to be here. So the only thing that I can do is the chairperson, and this body of members that we have present is simply listen to your presentation. Can't take any action because you require to have a quorum, but we certainly are very, very interested in pursuing this venture. So thank you again.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Questions,
Yes.
go right ahead.
No, I'm not. I've never lived in your city. I've lived in Hialeah up until, I think, I don't know, sometime in the 80s, retired HPD 25 years. I currently reside in Miramar. When I do a show, I've done a lot at the Hialeah Racetrack, at the Coral Gables University of Miami, at the Miramar Amphitheater, just different venues throughout Dade and Broward County. But when you do an event, you're getting people from all over South Florida. It just so happens to be that the majority of my folks just happen to reside in the Hialeah, Pembroke Pines, Miami Lakes area because they grew up on this music.
Thank you.
What I'm known for is 80s theme music. So if you grew up anywhere in South Florida listening to the music of that era, that's what I brought. I did the shows for Power 96 in the 80s until the 92, 93, 94. And I've got my own radio station, Miami One radio app, that continues to perform and play that music. Download it, you'll love it. It's warning, it's very addictive if you like this kind of music. May 22nd, Miramar Amphitheater, sold out show. All my shows are sold out. And anyway, I'm here tonight to plant the seed. If it grows, hopefully it'll grow for years to come for something good for the people that need it. Thank you.
You got a question?
Yes.
Just basically, I wanted to get a vision of what the event was going to look like. More or less, you answered a couple of questions.
If when you go, the past couple of years, I've done the promotions on Main Street for the car show.
Okay, yeah.
Those demographics that you see there, those folks are what you're looking at. If you went to high school in the 70s, the 80s down here, that's what you got. You can go to
Thank you so
YouTube.
very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Add
Okay.
some of the 60s to it.
I like doo-wop music myself.
We gotta move. We gotta move. We got other people coming. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
If we
Thank
talk
you.
about music, I can be here all day, so
I know.
I'll hang up.
Thank you so very much for coming and making this great presentation to us. And again, I want to thank the chairperson for special needs. She'd like to make a statement. 3 minutes, please. We let you run over a little bit, Mr. Rodriguez, but the information was very helpful. Thank you.
Good evening.
How you doing?
My name is
Introduce
Vivian Levy, and I'm the chair of the Special Needs Advisory Board. I'm not sure if all of you know, but the Special Needs Advisory Board, our goal is to create a model town for inclusion. So I'm reaching out Miami Lakes committees because we want to work with you. We want all Miami Lakes events to be more inclusive. So that goes from the way you promote an event to make it sound more inclusive for all abilities. That's something we would like to work with on. I was looking at this mural that you might be considering. And I don't think I see anyone with special needs on there. So that's something that, you know, we want everyone to start thinking about that. You know, it's something that, you know, maybe if you don't have someone in your family or if you're not a parent, I myself, I'm a parent of a child with autism. So everywhere I look, I look for ways that include my son. So, you know, we want to work with you. You know, maybe, I'm not sure if you guys do like art exhibits. I think you do. I've seen some, maybe including some artists, you know, who have special needs, who have autism or any other special need. You know, they're very talented, just like everybody else. So, you know, we're just looking to make the town more inclusive and do more events, you know, with you. We love to partner with you. So that's number one. And number two, quickly, I wanted to tell you about a program that we started with the police department. It's a special needs registry for people with special needs. It's basically, you sign up, they give you a bracelet with a particular number, and that bracelet is matched with all your emergency contacts. And they also give you a sticker to put on your window. So if an officer is ever called to that home, the officer will know, okay, there's someone here with special needs. I need to, look for that person or, watch out for that person. So, this is meant to keep people with special needs safe. Safety is very important in our town. And we have an amazing police department. They were super, super excited to start this program. We've already had, some kids and adults sign up because, this is for all ages. The elderly, sometimes, they have dementia, they have, other issues where they might get lost or wander. So it's for anybody that, could use this program.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. We
You're-
really appreciate you coming, and please know that this committee is certainly committed to working with the Special Needs Committee and trying to make sure that we include special need activities with the other activities that we are doing. And that's our commitment to you. So thank you again so very much for coming. And is there any other question you have for us that you'd like to have answered?
No, thank you so much for being so receptive, and we look forward to working together.
We look forward to it as well. Thank you. All right. And now, let me count down. Mario, I'd like to introduce you as the chairperson for the Educational Committee. Would you come forward and introduce three ladies? I know at least three of them. We had a conference call the other day, and it's about something called Showtime. You want to use this mic? Or you can't talk? Oh, Marilyn? Madeline, and the other lady, your name was?
Madeline and Melissa.
There you
Yes. So this is a special program that Madeline and Melissa run. Basically, it's a program for performing arts that was brought to both Neo and I. And we would like for Melissa to explain a little bit more about what she does and what she would like to bring to the town.
go. Great, thank you. Please introduce yourself and say your name clearly so our secretary can.
Hi,
have-
my name is Madeline Marchant
Spell
and
that last name. Oh,
Marchant and Madeline, Madelin. Elin. Yes.
I'm Melissa Gonzalez.
so each of you get at least 3 minutes to speak.
Well, Madeline's gonna start.
Well, first of all, I support Charlie Rodriguez's performing, 80s show back in 1986. As a side note, a song was performed called "Come Back to Me" by a group called Prototype, by Madeline Red. So I am that person. So I thank you for that because I've done the club, singing, everything. So anything that has to do with performing and preserving the 80s, yay. Okay.
Yes.
With that being said, today I started my 21st year as a theater arts educator for South Miami Middle School for Dade County Schools. I hold a master's in science in theater education. And one thing that I believe in is that children deserve a chance and an opportunity to be in the performing arts. And Miami-Dade County, the South, Kendall, South Miami, Coral Gables, it is very much filled up with theater arts programs. But this area, I believe, could benefit to allowing students of any age, and whether they're public, private, or charter, to come to do a performing arts program, an after-school program, not necessarily a summer camp itself too, but why not put in a show? Okay, take the kids, like I said, take the kids off the streets and put them on stage. I have extensive experience not only as an educator but also as an actress, so I can bring it both sides of the table. I have done summer camps in Weston when Weston was just beginning many years ago, and that's how I came into a relationship also with Melissa. And aside from that, I am part of the South Florida Theater League. I'm on the board for that. I also am on the board for the Humanity Project. That's the Leadership Council, so humanity through education. And I have 4 resumes that I can also give out to you with all my information. So basically, we are looking and talking about, as a parent, as an educator, is bringing the performing arts program to any location in your beautiful city that we can. I do not live here, but because I run for the district, I run the performing arts middle theater competition for all of Dade County. And that includes many of the schools that you have in your area as well. So I believe that there is an opportunity. There's definitely talent. And if we can get some sort of grants to help those children that are not, that cannot afford that, but we want to make this affordable for all families, for all types. And it's something that can definitely be done because we've done it everywhere in the city. And there's no reason why this area can have the same kind of opportunities for children on stage. So here I go.
Thank you.
Hi. So Madeline and I met many years ago, and I am a parent of theater students. Some of them were two of my children were her students. We've done summer camps together in the past, and I live in Palm Springs North. I don't live in Miami Lakes, but I am more in Miami Lakes than I am in Palm Springs North. And I have found it to be a problem that can be solved. So my kids, if they want to perform somewhere, I have to drive them down to Coral Gables, South Miami, West Kendall. And unfortunately, there are a lot of times where I have to tell them, sorry, you can't audition for that because I don't have the time to drive down there or there's too much traffic. So I came up with this idea and I brought Madeline in as part of my, to collaborate with her to see what we could do to solve that problem so that kids in this community, the northern part of Miami-Dade County, could also benefit from the ability to be able to perform. And our plan is to set up auditions for the kids. They can come in, they audition, and we'll put on full musical theater productions, maybe once, maybe twice a year, depending on where we are. And then from there, we'll grow into a summer camp program, an after school program. We'd like to make it year round. Do you have any questions for us? It would be all inclusive. Yes. Yes. Right. All inclusive. If as special needs chair, would it be all inclusive? Absolutely. Yeah.
Also bilingual also as well too. We incorporate Spanish here. Languages.
Okay, so what we're looking for is a location to be able to run this summer camp. We should be able to facilitate some grants on our own from the Children's Trust Fund and various other arts organizations. We need a place to be able to do this. And I know at the present time, there isn't really a facility that has a stage that'll allow us to be able to do that. I understand. We thought maybe for the time being, we could set up somewhere where we could even bring in, portable stages, whatever equipment that we need to be able to put on a performance until we can find a home that maybe would provide us with like a stage. Barbara Goldman, for example, or maybe one of the other schools that has a stage, that has the facilities that we need. It would be great if the city had a cultural arts center.
Well, that's something we've been trying to do.
As far as cost is concerned, a normal typical price for a summer camp with, let's say, all the bells and whistles, we're looking at minimum, in other places about $300. We want to make this at least minimum, between 150 to 200, which is, when you kind of break it down to everything, or usually if we do summer camps, that would be the price. As far as after school programs where a child comes and auditions, let's say we're putting on the show Annie, and then we announce it, we put, flyers everywhere. There's an audition process. And so the whole idea is that you don't charge kids to be in a show. So I'm against that. So summer camps, absolutely. That's an 8-hour day with, snacks and lunch and everything else. The goal is to have a show where the kids can come, the audience then does pay their tickets. And then of course, everything goes back to that. So right now, basically we're looking for a home. And of course, any extra monies that are sent from above to kind of get it going for the kids that cannot afford it. But it will be something that we should not, again, no one should be charging children to be in a show that you're doing. That's where you get your costs to cover your teachers, your choreographers, your lighting, your design, your microphones, everything else that is needed, which is already, as you know, a huge undertaking. But yes, it's basically, we need a home. That's it. So it's called Showtime or Showtime for Kids. Yes, sorry.
Well, just a second. Charles was up first.
Yes, I'm also on this committee. I'm also on the committee with the Main Street Players,
Yes.
and we have a theater.
Yes.
We have a theater there. And matter of fact, tonight, we're going to talk about our theater as well. because we're gonna go into transition in about 2 or 3 months. So right now, our theater holds about 90 people. And it is vacant most of the days, things like that. So it
Okay.
would be something that
Yeah.
once we get through our hurdle, it would be something that we'd be very interested in talking to you about.
Fantastic. Yeah, my kids have both gone to the
Yeah.
summer camp there. Actually, Emily volunteers there, for the sound, the lighting.
Her daughter there.
Where's she?
And
I don't
and
see
that
her.
would work when you're doing a smaller play. The only thing that it would not work for would be, let's say, a summer camp. You can't put 30, 40 kids there because there's no backstage,
Yes.
per se. But
Yeah.
for a small, let's say we want to do the Diary of Anne Frank and bring in the arts into here. We have auditions, we have a director, and that would work perfectly in that kind of intimate spacing. And the good thing about theater is that it's very flexible. You can do theater outside, concerts outside, in Shakespeare in the Park. There's no Shakespeare in the Park. Why not? Why can't this be the first city to do Shakespeare in the Park? You know, so.
Esther had a question. Well, that's something that we are going to be broaching the subject with the school board and the superintendent and the area superintendent about the possibility of the middle school or Barbara Goldman. That was what we discussed on the meeting on, what was it? Tuesday of this, I think it was Tuesday of this week, with them on a conference call, a Zoom call. And so I simply wanted them to come tonight, make their presentation to our committee so that you could hear about what they're proposing to do. You know, we are on board with this performing arts program for youth, because that's something we need so desperately in this community. And we've been talking about establishing here an arts center where these kind of things could happen. But in the meantime, we have committed to meet with the area superintendent, the principal of the two high schools, not high school,
Right.
one high school, which is Barbara Goldman, the middle school, which is Miami Lakes Middle, to see, you know, how we might be able to bring this together, because it is so essential. And I think it's needed so much here in this community, because there's so many youngsters who would really gain a lot by participating in the arts program after
Absolutely.
school. So
Absolutely.
we are so pleased that you brought this to our attention. And we are certainly going to be meeting with the chairperson of the Educational Advisory Committee, and we're going to be convening a meeting with the stakeholders, and hopefully we'll be able to help you, help us, help our youngsters. So thank you.
Well, thank
And
you
we
for your time.
appreciate that you coming.
Starting small is, that's all we take.
That's all we want.
There you go.
Yeah.
And let it
Yeah.
grow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. All right. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we're reaching out to them to be involved in this as well. Because we even talked about using they even talked about using, let me have one of your resumes for, especially for our secretary. Good, thank you. So we're going to be reaching out to them as well. And we even talked about the possibility of using the youth center, but it's not conducive for the way it's laid out. So. Yeah, I said the three of us. Cultural, vets, and special needs. All right. Is there someone else, public hearing? Wow, I thought there's a lot of people here. Nobody's got. Oh, Lord. No, Mr. Diamond. No, Mr. Diamond. What is the artist's name again? Miss Luce. We want to make sure that you take in consideration whenever this moves forward with the mural, that there will be some way of illustrating special need youngster in this mural. Mhm. Yes. Vivian. Great. Maybe a child in a wheelchair or something, you know. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Well, we're happy to provide input on that. Thank you. All right, is there any other public hearings, public comments rather? Hearing none, we're going to close the public comments and we're going to move through the agenda. All items that we can act on, we will, that we can, any item that we need to act on. Sure, of course. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for honoring us with your presence and bringing the artist back so that we could have some input with her. And we look forward to it, getting back to you guys. And thank you. Thank you all so very much for coming. Thank you so much, Lucy. Thank you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, again, these are just kind of reports that we're going to be moving on. So, I mean, there's no action. We cannot do other. Thank you, Mr. Diamond. Thank you, sir. We look forward to working with you. Thank you. Thank you. We just simply need to move through some of the items that don't require any action. We cannot approve the minutes, so we will defer that till the next meeting. Items regarding old business, Symphony of the America. Just wanted to say it was a great, yes, sir.
I'd like to add theater to the addition.
Theater.
Right, theater,
For what?
funding for the theater.
Oh,
We can only discuss it, Charles, but we don't have a quorum, as you know. All right, I just wanted to report to you that last Saturday evening, we had Symphony of the America concert at the Methodist Church, and it turned out wonderfully well. We just had poor attendance, but the musicians were just incredible. And Mary Lise, maybe you want to comment about you. Talking to Mike.
That I had never been to the event, so I wasn't sure what to expect. I was going to take my daughter, and I was able to get a babysitter. My husband came with me, and he plays the guitar. My daughter plays the piano, and he was fascinated with the performance. It was amazing. It's sad that we had such a poor turnout, but I think it's an event that calls for, obviously promoting it a lot, because it's very nice that we are able to put that on at such a low cost.
Yes, yes. And I just think this year's performance was simply stellar.
Okay.
Because they played a lot of music that a lot of us have heard,
Mhm.
and we were able to relate to, and it was just really great. And the interesting thing this year, they did not have a conductor because he was caught in Spain and couldn't get to the United States. But the young lady who is also the executive director for the Symphony of the America, her name is Sandy.
Mhm.
She did a wonderful job in announcing each of the pieces that they did. And they had two people, one guy from Croatia, and he was what's called the first chair.
Yeah.
And he kind of acted as a conductor without getting up and physically doing it, but you could see that people were watching him.
Mhm.
And he just did an incredible solo. And then there was another gentleman who did
the one from the Spanish one?
The Mexican.
Mexico.
Was,
Was he there?
yes, he was.
Mexico.
He was amazing.
Mexico. Yeah, he did a great job. So
He did.
They have
again,
from all over.
It was,
oh
it
yeah,
was beautiful.
they're international, classically trained musicians, and they just really put on a wonderful show, and we enjoyed it so much. So
Maybe we should think of ways to promote it more so more people would attend.
Well,
I
The
think-
year before, we had a good.
I
turnout.
Yeah.
think between COVID and the bad weather,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
the weekend that the storm was supposed to pass
Same
by,
with
so I
protecting
don't,
the storm was
Yeah.
coming
Yeah,
through.
that's true. Yeah,
The-
but
And
otherwise,
then-
that's a well attended.
Yeah, it usually is. It usually is, but it wasn't this time. So, but again, they still
I know.
perform just incredibly. And
It
I
was
want to
great of
thank Willie and Ernesto Soto is a new staff. Is the staff person gonna be our liaison or something? Okay, well, he was also there and they provided boxes of lunches for everybody, which was so nice because this time everybody just took a box as they left. And in there was a sandwich and some desserts and stuff, and it was and a bottle of water.
was that something that the cultural affairs paid for
Yeah,
or, oh,
we did.
okay.
Yeah.
Because it's nice, yeah, to collaborate with the local bakery.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
really
that's
well
good.
done. The food was, I mean, I
It was-
ate it.
Yeah, so did I when I got home.
that night, and it was good. Individual boxes, and you just simply pass
So
them out.
they usually
My-
have platters
my
on
own-
the side, but you can't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my only critique was that the box was a bit large for the items that were there. I've seen them, like Vicky Bakery does them on a small little
Smaller
box,
box.
which looks cuter because it's more, personal. That was my only critique, but I thought it was a great little touch.
Yes, it was. Okay, let's move on. Book talk. I would like for us to, I know we can't take any action, but I don't know if we can do an emergency call meeting, because we'd like to do something with Miss Barnett Kershaw. She's the author of a book called Path to Freedom. And she's a local resident. And this book is on the New York bestsellers list. And so we'd like to host something here in the town before the end of the fiscal year, if at all possible. Because we do have some funding that we could use to do that. So I just wanted, I know we can't take any action tonight, but just wanted to put it out there and see if Willie, we might be able to do some kind of an emergency meeting where we can get approval to go forward with this. Yeah, exactly. Please. And get back to us and so as we can do something, because we want to do
Because-
something before this fiscal year is over.
Yeah, and that's why we had this meeting. We weren't supposed to have this meeting, but since
Right.
we have funds still available, maybe we can use them for like this. And if, obviously if it's approved, and same thing with like something like the Tommy T Foundation.
Exactly.
If we're able to do that before the fiscal year's over.
Yeah, but they can use these funds and allocate it as a current goal for that particular cause in next year's budget.
I don't know if you can do that.
Oh, yeah,
No.
well, I can tell you, you can do that.
No, they don't. They won't do that.
Last year we had to talk about that and we said we had to do the event and we did the event that
There's-
Hispanic
there's-
thing that was great at
That's
NQC,
like-
remember?
That's like using carryover money, and they want all carryover dollars go back into the general fund and then redistribute it to
I
the,
mean,
so. Anyway, so we just need to see if we can do this in the next 10 days.
Yes, that
Willie,
would be great.
because I'd like to, it wouldn't take a lot to host her here in the building. And we'd have some music playing and some wine and cheese.
And some,
and-
yes,
And
exactly.
then she could, tell us
That's-
about the book, and it'd be something that people, and we could get the information out there, so.
That's a very
Willie,
easy
would you
event to
please-
put
Yeah,
up.
it's easy to do, so we can do
Yeah.
that. Okay, and I had on here the proposed concert, which we just dealt with. And again, you heard, again, we can't take any action, but I just want to reiterate that 20% of the gross profit would come to the three committees. That's what he just said, Mr. Rodriguez said. So that's something we really need to pursue because again, I don't think they're asking, they didn't ask for any money from us, just they wanted a location in the town where it could be held, like the parks, I would assume.
I think we need a lot more than that. Yeah, I think there needs to be a lot more discussion on that. Yes.
Okay,
You know what I forgot to ask, the Tommy T Foundation, she said it's about 2 weeks in August. Could she do that in the month of September?
the
painting the mural.
Yeah, we were trying
Yeah,
to
we were
figure out
trying-
if that's one
I
of
was
the
hoping
items
that we would be able to pass it tonight so that.
so that we can do it
forward with
before the fiscal year. So
They had a timeframe for me to September 30th that they could do. Could you check that?
Well, what we could do if we agreed to do that, we could engage them. And even if they perform the work on October the 1st, that would be fine because we would engage them and say that, because they asked for, I think it was $1,600 for the lift.
1,500, 2,100 in
And
total.
20 and 600, yeah, so we could certainly do
Yeah,
that.
Yeah,
Again,
I have a question. Like I asked before, why youth activities didn't have any in sale on this? It's still building
what?
on the mural. I would have thought,
They were supposed to be. a
well, I
part
would
of
have
it.
thought they would have been carrying the ball and we would assist them.
I just kept on asking, how come they're not here?
They
You
were
know, to me,
invited.
it's
were
more of a youth activity thing than it is a cultural affairs thing. That's my only comment.
They're not here.
Again, they were invited to be a part of this because I asked at our last meeting that we have all the stakeholders who would be involved in this, and certainly Youth Task Force, which is their building.
I understand.
And,
It's like me coming up and painting your house. That's
Right.
their building.
Exactly.
Anyways,
So we'll have to see about that, Willie, what happens to, what's his name, Rodriguez, Mr. Rodriguez, is he the chairperson of the Youth Activity Center? Okay. Or Rodriguez. So, Brian Rodriguez,
Brian
his
should
name?
have been here earlier then.
Anyway,
I mean, it still has a cultural aspect, you know,
yeah.
right.
the aesthetic. Yeah, I mean, I see it if,
But I thought he would have been here. to
no, I
be
know
a
that.
part
I
of
mean,
that.
it would
But
be
anyway,
great if they
yeah.
can contribute, but if we have
hopefully
the
he'll be
funds,
here so
I
he
think
can
it's a,
deal with this.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
know we don't have a forum, but I have some information about the theater that I would just like to throw out for people to think about.
Well, I want to get on the new business
Okay.
with that. If you let me finish this old business, we'll certainly get to it because I've already heard about your all new space that you're going to be getting, which is the old Victoria Secrets property.
Ooh, that corner.
So anyway, the calendar of events update. We'll just have to table that until the next meeting.
The calendar of events.
Mhm.
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
I was looking at the-
Turn your mic on. Just press it.
I have a question when we were
Take your
looking,
hand off. You'll have to hold it there.
okay. I have a question when I was looking at the minutes because I wasn't in town when this took place. In May, we have Paint a Picture with Mom. And what happened with the other event that we had talked about celebrating mothers in May? I don't see it listed, and it was listed before.
Okay, it was an oversight. We should have listed that again in May. The Mother's
what's
Day.
the other Mother's Day event? We didn't do anything else.
Yeah, we did. We talked
We-
about
We
celebrating
did
mothers.
something
We
else.
were
We
gonna look.
talked about it, but did we vote on that to do it?
No, but this was something that came from the town, remember? It's an event that
No,
the
but did we
town
vote on?
asked.
I know wherever it comes from, we still
No,
have to
the
vote on
only
it.
reason is we were discussing back and forth the funding, if we were gonna have a movie. But we never, we decided not to spend money on a movie per se, but I offered to have a sponsor. And I went ahead and spoke with a couple of people and they're willing to sponsor any event like that we might come up with.
Well, we will.
If we don't
include
have
that
enough
one.
money, there was a certain amount of money allocated to that event on our budget, but it wasn't enough to cover for the movie.
I don't believe there was anything
No.
allocated. There was
Yeah, there
just
was
talks
some
about
money that
it.
was put
I mean,
there. I think
maybe it's a
that,
meeting that I missed, but I don't.
No, I think that we had agreed that we wanted to have a Mother's Day, a mother's event, of some sort.
right.
But I don't think any dollar amount had been attached to it, but I don't see any problem with us going forward with a mother's event in the month of May. So
Of May.
we can just plan that and again, we don't know what the final budget is for this
Right.
year, but you have graciously agreed to find a sponsor, so that's not a
Correct.
big issue. We will certainly include that. So if you would like to, please add that to the minutes. Again, we are not taking any action tonight, but
Yeah.
just reports in that form. All right. Now, the last thing I wanted to share with you was We still on, we still had a meeting with the concert on the green here. It's still gonna be in November, we think. Okay. All right. So there'll be a follow-up to that.
And we also have an artist that is,
You found an artist?
right. I told her tentatively, we were looking at the Saturday before Thanksgiving. Historically, that's when we always have it, unless we're gonna have it at another date. We've had it
Saturday,
before Thanksgiving, I think it's the 20th, and we've also had it in January.
okay, so
So
Thanksgiving
either
always
day,
falls on a Thursday. So you're talking about
the
Saturday,
20th, the
20th.
20th of November is the Saturday before
November
Thanksgiving.
20th. We're talking about the concert on the green that we're proposing November 20th, which is the Saturday before Thanksgiving. So we've got to get with the individuals at Schuler's to see if this works for them. So Charles, you really need to be involved. in
Right,
that.
Will and I have been talking.
All right, thank you. A gentle reminder, Town of Miami Lakes Budget Committee hearing is on September the 7th and September 21st. We need you all to be present, if at all possible, to support our budget request for the upcoming fiscal year. Thank you. Last thing I wanted under new business, it was brought to my attention that to make a request, to consider making a request to allocate funds for the mayor's gala, for us to have a table there. I spoke with the manager about that, and he indicated that this was an item that would have to go before the full council to vote on that. And so I can't take any action tonight anyway, because we don't have a quorum whether they want to go forward with it or not. So it is on the agenda, and that's how that came about. And then since we don't have all our members here, or most of them here this evening, I was going to appoint the committee chairs for our various subcommittees. So with that, I will now turn the floor over to Charles James regarding the theater funding and the Main Street Players new venue for.
Yeah, I'll try to make this as brief as possible, but the theater's been in existence over 40 years. It's been in Miami Lakes over 25. And I serve on two committees. I serve on that one and I serve on this one. About 6 weeks ago, we got a notice from the Grahams that they want us to vacate the theater where we presently are. And as well, move down the street to Victoria's Secret, a little bit smaller than what we have. So with that come a lot of problems for us. We operate trying to generate funds. And as you know, with the 18 months that we had with COVID, the theater was shut down. We still had electricity, we still had AC, we still had maintenance on the building. Now, near the end, they start waiving and gave us a reduced rate of what we paid, but we still pay. A typical play, I would say, is between $10,000 and $15,000 to put it out. For those of you who don't know, we run Friday night at 8, Saturday night at 8, and Sunday at 2 for about a month. And if it's a good play, we can make a couple of bucks at the end. But behind me here is our artistic director, and he is the one that go out and find the plays. So we always try to make our plays provocative. We try to make them edgy, and we also try to make them thought-provoking and inclusive. So one of the things real quickly is what we do before we open up on Thursday. We always invite the homeless shelter, because 95% of them have never seen a live play. We give them soda, we give them Coke, and that's the first night that the actors get a chance to go against a live audience. And we also do a talk back after the show, and they come right out with what they think. They've never been to a show before, so they'll say, we don't like you, but you're good. We didn't like you in the play, but you're good. And they said some things like that. So we also do a youth camp. I heard a young lady there. We do two during the summer. We do 2 youth camps. And what do we do to generate funds? We have a fundraiser. I think this year's going to be November 10th, October 10th. We also get grants from County of Miami Lakes. We also individually, we pay, and we also volunteer just like you do here. So we try to generate as much funds as we can. Now with the move, the Grahams are going to help us with the building, but to make it a theater, it's our money that we have to generate in order to make it a theater. Danny has already been talking to the architects, he's already talked to the Grahams, and he has a blueprint of what the new theater is going to look like. And it's going to be very expensive. So the reason I'm here today is to see if some of the money that we have can be used. The mayor has already been briefed on this as well. If we can use some of that money to help us to defray the cost of opening the theater. We have one more play that's going to end about October 17. We have to be out of the building within 2 weeks, and we're trying to open January the 1st in the new one. So we're talking about 90 days of a lot of work, a lot of hours, and to make it a nice place where people can come and enjoy the theater. Our audience come from West Palm Beach to Homestead and everywhere in between. And we're very inclusive. Our kids, our actors come from FIU, University of Miami, FIU, and from Newark. And we try to give them a platform for their craft. We have people in New York, we have people in California, all around. So we really are desperate to try to continue this theater. And we need some funds. And if you could look and see, we can't vote on it tonight. If you could appropriate some funds, I would say the monthly, I know the rent is $2,000, and not counting the play, probably about $3,000 a month that we spend to keep the theater running. We also do 4 plays a year, and then during the Christmas time, we do a Spanish speaking only play right around, right before the Christmas holidays. So that's our plight. It wasn't our choice. We didn't ask to move. The Grahams want that area. We've had it for about 15, 20 years. For some reason, they want us to move a little bit down. So we don't have a choice. We have to go. And we would really like to keep the theater going like it is now. So. Right.
I was just
and
gonna
that's
ask,
yeah.
how does that
Right.
work? Because I know we use it for the Miss Claus.
Yes, they do. We told them all that. So I don't know very quickly if
Okay, that's what I
yeah,
don't know.
if
because I-
Danny would like to add something very quickly that I missed.
Well, I was just here to really just answer any questions you guys might have. I mean, just to correct something that Charles said regarding the timeline. I mean, realistically, they need us out of there by the 1st of January because there's a lot of things that have to come out of the space, obviously. And then we're not opening our first play until April of next year. Generally, we would start the season in February, but since we don't really have a concrete timeline regarding the construction and the build out of the Victoria's Secret space, we're not really planning to have a show until Q2 of next year. Something else to keep in mind, we're only getting half the Victoria's Secret space. So if you guys are familiar with that space, it's essentially 4 bays. Yeah, I have a drawing here. If you guys want to take a look at it, you guys can keep this because it's a copy that I just printed. But yeah, it's essentially half this space.
What's the capacity that's gonna hold?
Well, I'm hopeful that we can keep something close to, the theater seats 66 currently. If we can stay with about 50, that would be outstanding. Where we're gonna lose the most amount of floor spaces in the lobby and the backstage area. The stage is gonna stay relatively similar, just oriented in a different direction. So if you can imagine it as a rectangle, the audience faces the long end, well, just flip it. And now you have the short end being the front of the stage with more depth. The seating area is going to also remain relatively the same. We're taking the same platform risers that are in the space now and just throwing them over to the new space. But again, the lobby is going to be significantly smaller and the backstage area is going to be significantly smaller as well. Just to talk about finances with you guys, since Charles was sort of talking about what we're looking for, The Grams, this is again a preliminary budget. I was on a call with them about 2 weeks ago, and they seem to think it's going to take $100,000 to retrofit half of the space into a theater. I think that's really high. But now that we have the architect drawings, me and Lester, who is the project manager for the Graham companies, are going to start quoting out a lot of the work. At the company that I work for, we have a general contractor that works for us, so I'm going to be working with him to try to price out a lot of the build and the demo as cheaply as possible. And then honestly, things that members of the board can do, we will do. You know, something that I could just give you like a quick example. You know, they budgeted $6,500 to paint the space. And I told them, look, I got professional scenic painters that are on the board. I just need you to leave me the drywall plain white and we'll take care of the painting. You know, so there's just things like that, you know, we still haven't hammered out a lot of the details. We're still in a very early phase. You know, that's when I spoke to Charles over the weekend, I said, you know, we might not have time to get this in for the fiscal year of 2020 or 2021, excuse me, because, you know, by October 1st, we're probably still going to be quoting things out and still going through the process of getting the construction started. We don't really have a timetable of when they're going to break ground. Again, we just found out, like you said, 6 weeks ago that this is happening. So, yeah. So major shock. Yeah. I don't know. Honestly, when they spoke to Dennis, I don't know if you guys know Dennis Lisniak. Yeah. So when they spoke to Dennis, they did talk to Dennis about a lease. That's something that, if I'm being honest, we've never really had. We've just sort of had an agreement. And we've paid our rent and we've been very good tenants. We take care of a lot of the tenant improvements. You know, we don't call them when a light bulb is out. We don't call them when a toilet's backed up. We take care of a lot of the tenant infrastructure on our own. But they did talk about a lease. You guys floated around a cultural arts center. I had no idea that was even a possibility, that's something the town was exploring. Perhaps at another time I can come back and we can hear more about that, because that
would be great.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the space that we're moving to, I will tell you, it's a downgrade. There's just no other way around it. It's a downsize, it's a downgrade. It is not ideal in every imaginable way possible. We don't know. They don't want to tell us.
Obviously,
They're being very coy about who's taking it over, but I'll tell you what I know. They're taking our space and they're taking the boutique that was next door, Black, and that's all going to be one
So it's a big
location.
It's a big anchor store, has to be.
Apparently, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But without a lease, I mean, if we were to consider, you know, obviously investing, since we
No,
don't have
I
a
can-
cultural arts center, that's a huge risk that you're taking.
Yeah.
Because
and
they
again,
can have
look,
you out in a month.
I was not affiliated with MSP when that went down back in 2003, 2004. You know, I was still in high school. I can only tell you that now, yes, that is something that I told Dennis when he informed me that I was like, hey, I really want a lease because I don't want this to happen in 3 months or 3 years, let's say, excuse me. We need to get a lease and we need to get some kind of agreement so that we're on stable footing with the space that we're in, so that exactly what happens doesn't happen to us in the future. Because I mean, it is what it is.
The help that you will need from us financially will be to pay the lease or help pay the lease.
No, paying the rent's not going to really be a problem. The big expense okay. So every year we do our fundraiser and it's part of our operating budget, right? This year we have to double our normal operating budget fundraiser to account for all the tenant improvements that have to go into the space. Because like Charles said, what they want to take care of is basically the retaining wall that's going to divide the space in two, and they want to take care of the demo. Other than that, we're on the hook for a lot of the other infrastructure that's going in, you know. Again, they seem to think that that's going to cost $100,000. I don't believe so. But, I've already told the board that our fundraising goal for this year needs to be $50,000, which generally it's anywhere between 15 and 20.
That takes care of, all of our actor payments, because, we've been a professional theater now since 2017. So we pay our actors, we pay our crew and our design teams more than we did back then. So our fundraiser was for just general operating budgets. This year, yeah, we're doubling it just because of this moving expense. So yeah, I mean, again, like I told Charles, anything that the town can and the Cultural Affairs Committee can contribute will go a long way. I don't, I've given you guys the number that we're shooting for, but that's not to say like, hey, we're depending on that from a single revenue stream. That's the number that we're shooting for with our donors, with the town, with potentially the state of Florida. Anywhere where we can pull together a few $1,000 here and there gets us closer to our goal. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm over it. I'm excited to move. I'm all on board with, retrofitting a space. It's not every day that you get to design a theater in the way it's properly designed. So yeah. I've never been given an exact number, but if I had to throw something at it, I'd probably say like 4,000 square feet, maybe 5. No, in there, what you've got there in front of you is maybe like 2,000, 2,500.
Yeah, I've been to the Victoria's Secret space.
No, so where we're moving is the non-shaded area. Yeah, that's up. So essentially.
They go from 65 to 50.
Yeah, so the end of the street. Yeah, so this is the end of the street, right? And then this is.
But it would be nice to do something so that we can continue using the space. It would be nice to do something. It would be nice to be able to fund some of it so that we can continue to use the space and maybe do even more events there, like a book author. That's a nice thing to do there.
There'll be a storage area here. Stage. So yeah,
What type of fundraiser do you guys do? What type of fundraiser do you do? We can buy a table for your fundraiser too.
Yes. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's the west side of the actual space itself.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, again, we haven't gotten that far into the weeds yet, but yes, that's something that they did tell Dennis, that they did want us to sign at least a 5-year lease. I mean,
That makes sense.
Thank you so much, and we will take this on advisement and then
Continue to use your space.
bring it up at our next meeting.
Cultural center, so that would be nice.
so.
I will now entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting because there's another group
Thank
that's
you,
coming in.
Thank you so much.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion.
It's been moved. Is there a second to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, James, Charles, keep me posted on what fundraising you do. I'd like to hear that. Community, and I would love if we could do something. That is awesome. You must be so proud.
Yes.
That is amazing. I don't want to go meet at least.
Good, how are you? Oh, it's okay. I left my house at 7:30 and I got to you at 8:50. I was supposed to get there in 40 minutes by the highway. 8:50. Yeah. That was horrible. That was like Starbucks worker. And I'll go to school. Yeah. I'm like, okay, so what happened to say so that? I was like, really nice. And like, it was yeah, that wasn't it. It's tough. It was so much walking. Yeah, I had the so much walking that I'm not used to walking that much in the heat. I hate walking outside in the heat. Like I will walk up really bad. How are you? Let me see that map. Oh, this one? That's so good. Is that for you? Yeah, this is for you. Yeah, right? I love the keyboard. Oh, thank you. The choices the night owl cookies. Oh. I don't know if you have some. No, I think I've had my but no, like I parked in yellow, so like for the parking permits you can only. Thankfully, the raffle because I had like this mental health committee and the raffle was to win a free parking pass for this year. The parking passes are $500, 536 or 26. So they're not too cheap. Very expensive. And I was like, I'm gonna win it. And then I won. And I was like, so you know how much I had to pay? I paid $221 for my semester. For you, I was telling her how the parking pass is like $500 something. So in total, I paid $221 for my whole year. Oh no, for this semester for you, which is amazing, and it's gonna stay like that for a while. Yeah. So
Testing,
this is
testing.
my schedule.
Ha,
For
ha, 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 ha.
So I have my psych and research methods at 9:15. This dude went to Harvard for his fellowship. So I was making jokes. I was talking. I like, okay, why didn't we write the moralist into the bonds? I'm taking, this is psychology. Wait, never mind. I was gonna say philosophy. So, and then these two have to go together. Yeah. So then, Sci 291, it's a biostats. So I kind of like it, like, and the teacher she wants to make it fully online, which is like a lot better for me because I hate in-person classes. But that doesn't really make a difference because I still have to walk to students. I have actually. Like, I wanted to. Okay, so I'm really broad what I want because my main goal is to become a nurse, but I also want to become a trauma student. So I want to have two different careers. And like I'll be able to do both because for neurosurgery you can only do like the head and like the skull, but that's not enough. The trauma you can do from like the neck and down. So I will be limited. I can do anything in the body. General surgeries are two. Those are two. What's it called? They're too general. Like, they don't have special cases. They don't have like those cool cases like trauma does. Well, trauma isn't cool for the person, but it's like for general surgery, it's like, oh, my pancreas hurts, or like, can you take out my pancreas? Like those are exciting. General surgery doesn't need adrenaline, but neurosurgery and trauma does. Yeah, so I prefer that so much more. So I want to get two careers, and then I was also thinking about becoming a psychiatrist in my free time because I love talking, and if I can share. Wait, on your free time, having another job. Yes. Girl boss. What is it called? Girl boss. Yes, like yeah. And when I told Dr. Townsend this, he's like, "Do you realize that? Well, we won't have enough time to do stuff." And I was like, "Dr. Townsend, I like working. I'm a workaholic." He's like, "Well, you see, workaholics aren't that good because we don't have time to do stuff, and we don't have to like relax." But yeah, those are my goals as of right now. And like, I want to work with Doctors Without Borders. Awesome. So no, I'm not judging. It's not the judging, but I'm not judging. I'm admiring. Not even like no. In my head, I'm like, okay, my weekends are free, and I have money to go to every month. And that's completely. Yeah, I mean, first off, I am getting some benefit by like actually getting money because I want to live a stable life. And if I do have kids, I want them to have this. Like I've had a growing up, yeah, like growing up, I would always like talk to some of my friends. They'd be worried about different types of things. And I'd be worried about like financial things. So it was just like those little icebreakers, the green, the one with the bottle flat circle. The icebreakers. I like them. Yes. So my parents would never buy them. And I'll always get them for friends. But they're like $2. That's a lot of money. That's not sort of working one, like, I need to know the value of money, the value of your time, whatever it is. that you're working with. So, for example, at that time, my parents so at that point, I didn't want to because that never worked. So that's why when I did start working on it, I was like, yeah, like why would I pay $2 for a 2.99? It was just tough knowing that I have to, yeah, I do want my business to know every what it is to work, what it is to put all their effort and time. I don't want them to be angry either, since I get whatever they want. I don't want them to do it. But I do want them to know that if they can't afford it all the time working for something, they still have me to. If they give me their all and they have to pay for all their effort, then I'll grant them their wish. So I guess that's like one of the ones for yeah, when I yeah, I'm like the nature of a lot of generations.
But we have it currently at 150.
All right. So we're going to get this meeting started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Rodriguez, the chair of the Youth Activities Task Force here in the town of Miami Lakes. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 8:42 p.m. Today is August 23rd, our regularly scheduled meeting. If we can have a roll call from the secretary.
Brian Rodriguez,
Present.
Eric Valerdi. Present. Flavio Nunez, present. Elika Quintero. Ariana Rejas. Present. Juan Rodriguez.
Present.
Eddie Cedeño. Leila Coviella. Present. Moritz Acosta.
Present.
Mark Gomez. Daniel Gonzalez.
Present.
Robin Amador.
Present.
Josh Rios. Mario Pineda. Quorum is met.
Perfect. And welcome, Mr. Robin, to the committee. Officially, you're on our roster, so.
I saw that. I'm very happy. You saw my happy face, right?
There you go. Welcome,
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you.
And we'll start off
Through the
straight
chair.
off.
I just want to make sure I did get count for attendance. A roll, sorry, thank you.
And we will go on and move on to item number 3, public comments. Do we have any public comments? Robin, really quick, if you can introduce yourself.
Hi, guys. Robin Amador. I've been with the department for about 16 years. Here in the town of Miami Lakes, probably about 12 years. And I'm going to be replacing Juan Rodriguez. It's going to be very difficult because Juan is irreplaceable. But I'm going to do my best, and I'm learning a lot because a lot of it is very new to me. So, and I hope I can bring something positive to the table. And I'm just learning so much from you guys. You guys are amazing. Everyone here is amazing.
Thank you and welcome to the committee. We open our arms to you, and if you ever need anything, we're here.
Thank you. Likewise.
Of course. All right. Any more public comments?
I'd like to say something.
Go ahead.
I'd like to personally apologize to the committee for not being here for the months of June and July. In the month of June, I was part of a summer program that I couldn't miss. And in the month, it's called the Bezos Scholars Program. And in the month of July, I was part of the Youth Leadership Institute that I also couldn't miss. So I do apologize for that. It won't happen again. I'm still part of these programs, but the time involvement is not nearly what it was in the summer.
Perfect. Thank you. Any more public comments? We have a member of the public that would like to speak. Ernie, if you could give her a microphone.
Hi, my name is Vivian Levy, and I'm the chair of the Special Needs Advisory Board. My liaison is going to be coming in, and she'll be talking about something else, but she's in the restroom. Anyways, I'm here today because we started a program along with the Miami Lakes Police Department. It's a special needs registry. This is meant for any members of the community, any age, who have special needs. And the way it works is they register and we take down all of their emergency contact information, any diagnosis. And with that information, it's linked to a bracelet with a specific number that is given to that person. And so in case they ever encounter a police officer, the police officer will see the bracelet and they'll be able, with that number, identify, the family member or any, emergency information that you wrote down. Like I said, this is for any age. The elderly are also members of the community who suffer from, dementia, from Alzheimer's, who might benefit from this program. And I want you all to please help me, if you have any members of your family who can benefit from this program, any residents, any neighbors, please, let them know. There's a great video online that explains the whole program. You also get a decal for your home in case, an officer is ever called to your home. They'll see the decal and they'll know, okay, there's someone here with special needs. I need to, be mindful of that. Okay. And Officer Amador is is in charge of the program. So he's been a great help. I don't know if you want to say anything.
No, but Vivian has been instrumental because of her, the program is where it's at. If anybody has any questions or if you guys encounter anybody, I mean, first and foremost, information for you, and then for anybody that might ask, anybody can send me an email so that I can forward them an email back with a link and some information on the program. And I think the video that we were a part of is very good because it kind of details everything in the video. So it's easy. It's a link, open up the video, everything's there. So anybody has any type of interest should see it. The only thing is that they have to be Town of Miami Lakes residents only. This is only for the Town of Miami Lakes. So that's the only one thing that they really need to know. It's working very well. We have a few people already that have signed up and everything's been processed. I go to their house, I bring them all the goodies, and that's when it goes into the system, that's it. Any type of call to that address or anything linked with the bracelet, we're gonna get back information on the person, and that way when the officers show up to the residence, they're more prepared because they know already half of what they're dealing with. A lot of times nobody knows what's going on. So this way they already know, okay, this is somebody with special needs, they have this, they have that, they take this, they take that, because a lot of times we don't even think about the medical emergencies. But if I already know what they take, then I can already advise fire, listen, this is what they're taking. So before they get there, they already know. So that's another part of it. But anything, I'm gonna email you the.
You could send it to Ernie and he could
Okay.
send it out to the committee.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. And I want to introduce our liaison, Yesenia Leiva. She's going to talk to you a little bit about inclusion and our goal that we have at board for our community.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Yesenia Leiva. I'm the liaison for the Special Needs Advisory Board of the Town of Miami Lakes. And the goal is simple, is to promote a model town for inclusion. For us, for me, I always put myself in a personal experience as a person with a disability. It's not about creating something brand new. It's about promoting or bringing what's already existent in the community and including individuals with disabilities and everything possible to make it accessible to individuals with disabilities, whether it's a program, whether it's an activity, whether it's a building, whether it's employment. I think we do it all. We try to get our hands in a little bit of everything for the benefit of individuals with disabilities. We've been around probably a little over 2 years or so, probably going to 3 years. And we've made great progress in helping and creating that model town for inclusion. So we have training available as far as disability etiquette training. It's not fair for us to assume that anybody knows, what it is that we're trying to accomplish or what we want to accomplish. So we do provide disability etiquette training just so that you get an idea of how to work with people with disabilities. What does it mean? What's the terminology? What do you say? How do you ask somebody if they need help? What's the right way or the wrong way? Same thing like disability etiquette for police officers. It's an amazing thing. So never assuming somebody knows what it's like to live with a disability or work with somebody with a disability. So that's what we're here for, promoting that model town for inclusion. For me personally, it's my life's mission to do so in and outside of the town of Miami Lakes. As a founder of a disability programs and training, social activities, Funclusion, which we did about 2 years ago in the town of Miami Lakes, promoting inclusion through entertainment, fashion show, performers with and without disability. So it's really getting a grasp of the inclusion. So any questions or anything at all, we're here. And thank you guys for having us and allowing us this moment.
Perfect. And thank you guys for coming out tonight. I just wanted to say a few things. I love your program that you made with the registry. I will be one of those that register on that registry, as I am a town resident with disabilities. May not be evident and you may not see them, but I do have some disabilities. I'm sure there may be other people in this room that do have disabilities, and I will be one that registers for that. So I do thank you, and I would like to personally invite you out to our future events to get this out there, because I think it's very important. Because we do have many families with children or family members that do have disabilities that come to our events.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
I am one of them, and I have a son with autism. So I go to your events all the time. And I think sometimes also an important note here is how to promote all town events to be more inclusive. Because sometimes as a parent, you're a little bit hesitant. Oh, is this something, my kid is gonna enjoy? Is it gonna fit in? Is it only, so I think that's something we need to work on. So that's one of the reasons why we're visiting all of the committees. So we want all town events to be more inclusive and get the word out there. We welcome people of all abilities.
Of course, and I do agree with that. Me personally, and I'll share, I am hearing impaired, as well as diagnosed with ADHD to one of the highest extremes where I cannot concentrate, where I am on medication for it. So I think it is very important to assist those that do need assistance and do it the right way. And I think everyone in the committee should go through that training, as we do host one of the or more of the bigger events here in the town with those that do have disabilities that do come out. I also have family members that have autism and different disabilities throughout my family. And I think it's a great idea. And like I said, I invite you guys out to all of our events to get this out there and bring awareness to it.
Thank you.
Of course.
Through the chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering, I know in the past, I think it was sometime last year or the year before, we were setting up an event, and closer to the end, we were trying to figure out how we could make it more inclusive. And we had a hard time figuring out better options. I don't know if you guys would be able to provide us, maybe not tonight or at some point, some more guidance in that, like potential ideas that we could implement into our events that we could, do this so that it makes it. So, I mean, I think doing the training is going to help us as well, but I think altogether we could come up with some really good ideas that make sure everyone feels included.
Yeah, I completely do agree with you. And I'll bring up an example. 1 year was for Halloween, was one of the bigger ones. I think that's the one. It was Easter or Halloween. I know Halloween, the biggest thing was we wanted to do a big tent in the middle of the field. And we had to make it accessible for those with disabilities. And the only reason we didn't do it is because we couldn't make it accessible due to
Not
funds. here in the
wheelchair
town.
accessible.
Yeah, wheelchair accessible. And that was one of the hardest things was we couldn't do it and make it inclusive because unfortunately, yes, we do have budgets, but I think that's one of the things we look at, not just Halloween or multiple events. We ended up doing our own little haunted house, but it was wheelchair accessible. Yes, it's on a smaller scale, but we do try to include as many people as possible into our events. And going on down in the future, I think most of our events should be inclusive for those with disabilities, any event that we have. So I invite you to come out to our meetings. If you have any ideas for any of our future events, we're open to hear all of them.
That's why we're here.
Perfect.
And you're welcome to come to our meetings as well.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for sharing that about the ADHD and the hearing impairment. I think one of the biggest things that I've seen with the town or just notice in general is that the more representation, the more we as the people in the front end are willing to talk about it, the more the community is going to be like, okay, let me go, let me try, let me participate. And so we need a lot more of that, a lot of more of visiting of the committees. And I know like that, we're going to definitely get further in the promoting the model town for inclusion. So thank you for that.
Of course, and thank you. Any more public comments before we move on? All right, seeing none, public comments is now closed. We're going to move on to item 4, order of business, deferrals, additions, deletions. Is there anything that anyone wants to remove or add to the agenda?
Through the chair, if I may, quickly, 2 points of information before that. First, the 3-month required absence, that if you're absent for 3 months, you get kicked out of the committee, well, removed. That is not in place yet for students, correct?
No, so unfortunately, I have, at the last council meeting that I attended, due to time constraints, we were unable to bring that up to the council. Last council meeting, I was unable to do it because of work, but I am planning on either myself or the vice chair can do it as well. If I can't make it, to present that to the council, since we did already vote for that as a unanimous vote on the committee.
And then the second, is it correct that the youth employment fair is a line item for the 2020-2021 budget year, but we have not hosted it, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I would like to add to the agenda, item 4A, the youth employment fair.
I would add that under new business.
New business, can I add it as an item separately or does it have to be 5A?
You could add it under, so unfinished business is a 5, and then you could add it to new business if you'd like as item 7A.
7A, I'll add it under 7A, the youth employment fair.
Okay, I'll also like to add 4A, which is going to be the approval of minutes for last month's meeting, I believe. Yes, the July meeting. Any other additions or deletions? Do we have a second to add them to the agenda?
Second.
We have a second, and the motion's going to be by Moritz, and then you could add mine to his if you'd like. Would you like me to add the minutes?
That's fine.
All right, so we have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Awesome. So we'll move on to item 4A, which is to review and approve the minutes from the July meeting. Please take a moment to do that and review them. Does anyone have a motion to approve the minutes or anything that they want to edit?
Through the chair, if I may, I would like to add a correction here. So under items, section 7, election for vice chair, I would just like to also separate that to include item A, which is just the election of the secretary. It's a little unclear. Additionally, I know Dr. Cedeno wanted to add a note that I did vote yes on the motion. I think it's a little unclear because it says I voted yes, even though I was joining via the telephone that day, so my vote did not count. If that could just be changed, I think it would make more sense. If there's a no, if you guys want to include that, just please note that Maritza Costa voted yes, but I think it makes it look like my vote did count, which it did not. I just don't
So-
want any confusion in that.
You voted yes for which one? For,
So at the bottom, the last paragraph, it says, there was a motion made by Mark Gomez to have this topic, to table the discussion until the next meeting about the election secretary. And I don't mind it, like it's stating that I said yes. I just want to be there no confusion in the future, should it ever happen, that I was not allowed to vote that meeting, just to have it clear.
so do you want to remove yourself from those votes since you technically weren't allowed to vote?
Yeah, sure. I know Dr. Sedano did want to make it a point, just to have it on record that I did say yes, and that's completely fine by me. I just don't want there to be any problem where someone thought I voted via the telephone.
Yeah, it's up to you. So we'll do that. We'll remove Maritz's name since it is an illegitimate vote since he was not here.
So to remove my name and then to add 8 election for secretary. Thank you.
Cool. So section 7A for the secretary election. Okay. There should also be a motion under that that is missing, which was the motion to defer or to have a secretary vote or a secretary election at this meeting. I believe that was motioned by Mark Gomez and second by Eddie, but we'll have to go back into the record.
So the way I see it is that the motion that's currently on the second paragraph does include the motion made by Mark, correct?
Yeah, so if I read this correctly, it does mean, so it says the committee discussed whether or not to do the voting now or at the next meeting, and then my motion was for the next meeting. So
Okay, I didn't see it.
It's
I didn't
stated
see it.
correctly. Yes.
Cool, cool. Perfect. For future reference for the secretary, can we make sure that we bold the actual motion? Awesome. All right.
I'll move as amended.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We have a second? Well, yours was the original motion.
I'll second.
Who motioned?
No, he made the amendments and then I motioned with his
Okay.
amendments and there was a
So
second.
we have a second by Flavia. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. All right, so we'll move on to item 5, unfinished business, which is the summer event. Unfortunately, I was not able to be there. Thank you to all of the committee members that were able to make it to that event. And whoever was there, if you have anything to say or some recap of the event, we'll start with Ernie, just so you can give a recap to the committee.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, thank you so much for making it out here tonight. Just to go ahead and piggyback off of what Brian, the topic that we're discussing. I personally believe that the end of summer event, end of summer bash event was actually a success, considering that the original date, which was scheduled for, I believe it was August 14th, was postponed due to the inclement weather. So we moved it to this past Saturday, the 21st, and I gotta say, from the numbers that Mr. Maritza Costa gave me through the registration tables that we had set up, I thought it was a fairly decent amount of people, more than I expected. And the mere fact that we had so many volunteers out there just going around the actual park itself and promoting, just being that voice, letting them know what was going on. I think we ended up with better than expected amount of guests. So, that was an absolute success in my eyes. And without question, it could not have been possible without those that were in attendance from the YATF committee. So thank you very much for going out there and representing.
Awesome. Moritz, I know you were there, and if you could share the numbers as well and what you thought about the event.
Yeah, so I had also, in addition to that, I did have a few points to make, just some room for improvement. But first, I'll go ahead with the numbers. So we had a total of 94 admissions checked in, but considering the amount of just shows that we had at the door that they had not registered before, this number is definitely safe to be way over that. And I would say maybe around between 100 and 150, maybe a little more than 150, but we had a bunch of people just, they were at the park, they heard it from their family. And then since we had a lot of space, we did let them in. Volunteers, we had about 9 volunteers out of the 50 that signed up show up. Now, I see that may not look too good, but like Ernie said, they initially signed up to work for the 14th. They didn't sign up to work for the 21st, so that's understandable. Now, while I agree that the event was a success, here are just some points I noted that I would like to have on the record so we can go back to this next year. So I did speak to some of the sponsors, and we had some discussion about this. I spoke with the sponsors, and they were not too happy that initially there was a problem with the tents and the location. First, they didn't like that they were in the sun. It was really hot. And second, that we could not give tents to most sponsors, if maybe not even any of them. So that is something that I would like to see change for the future event. I would like to see tents included in the sponsorship packet. I understand that these organizations should have tents, but if they are our sponsors, they are donating money, they are providing a service to us, I think it only makes sense for us to provide them with a tent when it's so hot outside. So I want to keep our sponsors happy. I think that's the best way to keep them coming back. And giving them a tent, I don't think that seems like a lot of work, considering we have about 8 that are ours, and I think we had enough to give to everybody, but that was not approved. So I would like to see that happen next time. In addition to that, I think our volunteers should get food. It was an event from 11 to 2. Most volunteers were there between 9 and 10, so they were really there from 9 to 2:30. That's a long time. I think next time, if we did like what we did with the bike rodeo, if we could just give our high school volunteers that were there that day, we could buy pizza, sandwiches, whatever it may be, just to keep our volunteers happy. After all, they are there for free working for us. I would also like to see more subcommittees. I feel like I went into the bike rodeo personally very prepared. I felt like I knew everything that was going on. I felt like I went into the end of summer bash a little less. I feel like our subcommittee meetings were, quite frankly, not a lot was happening in those subcommittee meetings. And since there was such a big gap between our last subcommittee and the event, I feel like there were a lot of changes that had to be made that we cannot discuss in the subcommittee meeting. So that's just something I would like to see in the future. Also, the date, I believe, was a little not the best date. I think we should either do it earlier in August or later in September even, just because it was really, really hot outside, even though it was a water event. I mean, just like I think it was Officer Amador that mentioned at the event, the Crime Watch gentleman had to get dressed in a dog suit. He did not have a tent. We never gave his, even though he was a sponsor for free there representing. He never got a tent. He had to get dressed up as a dog and walk around in a big suit, then dress out. He was all sweating, still no tent. He was there in the sun. So that's just something to improve on. And the date could also change, just the temperature. I definitely think we should keep the supplies, the school supply giveaway. I think that was really a big success, even though it wasn't the main attraction when it was really the water slides. I feel like a lot of parents went for the school supplies, and the Giving Gators did an amazing job at giving out school supplies, as well as the Education Advisory Board with books. So those are just some points that I would like to see implemented next time. Thank you.
Awesome. And definitely, this is more of just a recap of it. Just keep in mind, we're not planning next year's event yet. Thank you though for all your feedback. We do take all that feedback seriously when it comes to planning this event for the future. And when it comes time to plan it for next year, bring that up again, because I know a lot of people may not remember it. So, because it is a year away, basically. Just keep it in mind, bring it back to the committee so we can work, or we could talk about it when we do come back. But I do agree with all the points that you did bring up. Does anyone else have anything on the summer back to school bash? Daniel?
Through the chair. So I mean, one minor comment that I'd like to add regarding at least the advertising and flyers I saw for the event. I think it would have been, just a note, a more powerful pull to attract people if on the flyer itself, there was actual pictures of either what they would be getting in terms of the school supplies to entice them to make it like, so they know what to expect and to make it worth it to them. And also what I wasn't expecting was those inflatable slides to actually be like, 4 separate installations that were actually quite large. It really caught my attention, even though they're towards the back of the park. I think if those were actually, an image of them was shown on the advertisement, it would have really attracted a lot more little, younger children to come, because it would have been, they would have actually seen it. It would have been like wanting to push their parents for to, take them to the event. I think that would have been a much more, attractive offering to really bring in a lot more people. So just to take note for future events, if we're gonna, be giving stuff away or have like a really noticeable attraction at the event, I think it's important to actually illustrate that and, put that image in at like any, advertisements, flyers, because that will really attract a lot more people, I think.
Awesome, thank you. Officer Amador?
Yeah, just want to add, initially, when you guys were planning, you were talking about the water and not having water and this and that. And I think that the water made the whole difference because it was so hot that if it not had been for that, no, I don't think anybody would have gone into any of the houses. Because I went with my family, and the one that didn't have any water, there was nobody in it because they were hot, they were very hot to the touch. So on that note, I noticed that on the east side, there's a canopy. If in the future, there's no water or there's one without water, if it can fit in that area under the trees, that would be excellent, because then it would get use.
Awesome. Eddie?
Hello. So I do have a little bit of a long list, and I apologize for maybe being the negative Nancy here, but I think it's important for us to look at things from the outside sometimes and really, so that we have better events and better development of things. Some of the things I'm going to say, I am a sponsor at times for a lot of these events, but I want to be upfront with, I'm a sponsor for other reasons. I was born and raised here. I love this place. You're not going to lose me. But I think if we continue to practice some of the things that we're doing in some of these events, I think we're going to continue to lose sponsors. And I think that's then a problem for future events and all that type of stuff. So again, all of this stuff is constructive criticism. I do think overall it was a great event. I think we were able to be super successful with the water thing, which we've been saying for years, not doable, not doable. I think it's amazing that we were able to do it. I think we could continue to build on this event, especially it being the first time. Attendance, I mean, being at a lot of these events, I do feel like it was not the greatest. I think it was a good event, but I think the fact that, things got moved, that is a huge hit for us. And that's out of our control, obviously. It was a hurricane or whatever they wanted to call Fred, I guess. But I think after that happens, I think we as a group or at the town, maybe because we don't manage the marketing part of that, it's more of the, and I know that there have been some changes in the marketing side of things. So, it happened this time. But I do think that when we are promoting an event that has happened or that has gotten canceled and being pushed to like another week, I think one big thing is the Eventbrite. I think we need to be able to sort of clear those tickets or add more tickets instead of, did we do that? Did we open up more tickets when things got canceled?
No, we did not. We left it at, we kept it at 550 and
yeah. It's just that when so many people, I mean, the event got moved, I feel like a lot of those people didn't, work. And Eventbrite is always hit or miss anyways. But I think it's a barrier when people are logging into it and seeing that it's sold out. because I did have 2 or 3 people tell me that like 2 days before. I didn't reach out because it was like the day before. But I think that was a barrier where it says sold out after the tickets have been sold and the event has been changed like that. I'd hate to say, but maybe sending an email, erasing everyone from it and being like, hey, it's been moved, so please purchase your tickets. Giving them like a day or 2 to do that before you open up to the general public again might be a potential, but I think we have to be able to do those things. The sponsorship packet, there was talk about, you mentioned the tent. I think I agree with you. In most other events, we usually do provide tents. I have my own tent, so I brought it in my car just in case because I knew it was gonna be so hot and I figured maybe we could put a second one if we needed it, if it was that busy. Luckily I had it there, so I used it, but I had no idea there was not gonna be a tent. So as a sponsor, that could be a big problem. Again, you're not losing me because I'm here. So always here to support, but it's just, I think without doing that, then putting that in the sponsorship pack that was sent out, it did say that there was a tent, so that becomes difficult. Pushing people out to be in those all the media outlets, Instagram, Facebook, all those things, that's what sponsors are looking for. So I think it's something that when you're looking for the normal sponsor, we really need to polish that sponsorship pack and then follow through with the things that we're saying. There were a couple people that walked past a tent that earlier on, actually, probably, that said, wow, this is really disorganized. What's going on here? I felt like the tents, because they were off, they weren't like set in a certain way. I think that makes it just visually appealing a little off. I'm an orthodontist, sorry. Things have to be, whatever. Basically, we didn't really get a map beforehand. I think we need to have a layout. Before, we always had layouts exactly saying where things were, sort of approved by the committee also, and the subcommittees, or brought from the subcommittee to the committee. So part of that disorganization, I think they didn't know where the registration was. Everyone kept coming up to our tents and saying, oh, is this where we get the tickets for the things? No, and I didn't even really know. Probably my fault for getting there late. So, but I think we've had registration at almost every event. I think we really need to invest on signs and just keep those signs. Because I know we've bought them in the past, but I feel like we've thrown them out. Like Halloween, maybe they're Halloween themed, so we throw them out and don't use. And then we're constantly buying signs. We should just buy a generic big sign that says registration, or 2 of them, so we have tables on each side. Could I ask how many sponsors were there? Paid sponsors. How much sponsorship money do we bring in?
I believe it was just you.
So and again, I think everyone else was in-kind sponsors. I think we need to have a difference there. There's just differences. And I think it's a great thing to have a ton of in-kind sponsors, and it makes events amazing. But then when you have sponsors, you have to do certain things for those sponsors. Again, for me, it doesn't bother my office. Like, we're here, we're going to be here for Halloween, we're going to be here for all the other things because we just like doing it. But I think we're missing out on a big piece of pie where we could really develop a lot of these events by having big sponsors and then keeping them happy so that they're sponsors that are coming back and back every year, and to other events that we also do and within the whole town. Part of those things could be things like, making sure that they're tagged on Instagram things, website and press releases. I feel like we should always be having a press release following an event that links back to the sponsors' websites. The layout we talked about, the Eventbrite, and I think going back to that Instagram thing, and even the sponsors, and even the in-kind sponsors and all the other ones, if we're able to tag those people, that's just going to push our event farther. Like Daniel said, if we have these pictures of, like this year, this is great. We got a lot of good content and pictures for next year's event, summer event, where we could show these posts that have the slides and all the things and really get this moving to be an even bigger event. The heat, there's nothing we could do about that, except I think all summer long. But I think overall, I think we had a great event. I think we could make it an amazing event. So again, all this is constructive stuff. Please don't. I'm not trying to take this off of our budget. I think it's a great one. And I think we could allot even more, maybe potential money to that in the future. Thank you guys for all your help, everyone that was there and that set up the event beforehand too.
Awesome, thank you. And I'm gonna add, and I'll be very brief. I'm gonna have to agree with some things that he said. When it comes to sponsors, there's a difference between someone that's a paid sponsor and someone that's an in-kind sponsor. If someone like, for example, his company is giving us money I think there has to be other benefits for them, or even more benefits, let's say, than an in-kind sponsor, because it's direct money coming to the committee. I think there has to be something that differentiates in-kind and then those money sponsors. And I think we need to talk more about that, maybe not tonight, but at the next meeting.
Yeah, through the chair. So I guess the entire point of my conversation was to get to my last point, which was that I think that we need a sponsorship subcommittee that will basically maybe develop a more developed sponsorship package for the entire year or for all the events together that then we present to the committee, all agree on and go from there. And
I'm
we
all
could do
about
that,
it.
you
And so what I'm gonna do is actually, I'm gonna motion to create a Youth Activities Task Force sponsorship subcommittee. And do we have a second? And then we'll go into discussion. So we have a second, any discussion? So basically, this subcommittee, it's not really, we're not gonna give them power like all the other subcommittees when it comes to events. What this subcommittee meeting or what this subcommittee will do is bring ideas or maybe draft different sponsorship packages to bring back to the committee and the committee can vote on. I think that's something important that we have to do. So now that we have the motion and the second, is there any more discussion regarding the subcommittee?
I just quickly want to say that I think we are confusing the in-kind sponsors because there's different types. There's Miami-Dade College, there's the library, which no offense to them, but it's kind of like a 0-0 deal. They give their things, we give them space like that. But I think we really need to differentiate in-kind sponsors like the Giving Gators who are giving supplies that is costing them over like $1,300. I think it's unfair to give more benefits to paid sponsors when the Giving Gators are giving hundreds of dollars of supplies, unlike some of the other in-kind sponsors. So I think it's just important that we keep that.
Yeah, and
that in
it's not to give more or less to either one. It's about giving different benefits to each one. There has to be some type of give, right? Yeah, I understand that they may be doing more money when it comes to in-kind sponsorships, but they're also promoting their own business by being there for free. Does that make sense? They're not giving anything to us, particularly to the committee with that. For example, let's say we have Eddie that sponsors $1,000 to our event. That $1,000 is going directly to our committee and we are using that money directly for our event. It's different from with an in-kind sponsorship.
If I may, Moritz, I understand completely where you're going with this. And in truth, over my experiences with prior events, in-kind sponsors, in-kind donations versus I guess money donations, it's all of importance. There really is none that is more beneficial than the other. They all play a role and a huge part in the event. But I agree. Giving Gators did a fantastic job giving out these book bags, but you can't take away from what Dr. Cedeno has done in the past or continues to do every time there's an event given by the Youth Activities Task Force. I think in both references they're very, very beneficial, whether it's in kind or it's paid.
And it's nothing against in kind or paid because each one has their own type of benefits to our event, right? And that's why I did create this sponsorship subcommittee, so we could go over that and see what benefits will each one get, right? Maybe we have to implement a fee for the in-kind sponsorships, just like we implemented a fee, or I don't know if we even did it for this event, but there's supposed to be a fee from us to the food trucks. So just like there's a fee from us to the food trucks, they're giving us a fee so they can sell food there, right? But they're also promoting their business. Maybe we might have to do that with the in-kind sponsorship. It doesn't have to be a large amount, but it is some type of amount, right? Because then with in-kind sponsorships, then we would be letting everyone into our events.
Through the chair, just to clarify, I wasn't trying to, I guess, lower in kind at all. I just think overall, we just need to develop a good sponsorship package for both in kind, non in kind, for everything abroad, and then follow through with those. That's sort of what I'm just getting at. Daylin, if you're out there, we love the Giving Gators.
Through the chair, I
Yes.
just wanted to add a point to this. I think, to Dr. Sedano's point, adding the, finding the packages for the paid sponsors is something that could apply generally to all the events versus the in-kind sponsors such as the Giving Gators. It's not something that they would be attending. Like it won't be something the in-kind sponsors would probably vary depending on the event. The Giving Gators won't make sense to have at Halloween or like the Christmas event unless it made perfect sense for a back to school themed event, but not every event, so the general package for like, paid sponsors is something that could be applicable to all the events versus in-kind is more, in my opinion, would be event specific, to
So
what they are.
when it comes to that, what I would do, and we could discuss this more in the subcommittee, this is the last point I'm going to give regarding this, is basically when it comes to in-kind sponsorships, I would put put together one general in-kind sponsorship package to list exactly what they're giving us, right? When it comes to paid sponsorships, I would have one for each event. The reason, and that's how we've done it in the past, and there's different tiers when it comes to sponsorships depending on the event and the scale of the event. For example, Halloween would ask for let's say a $5,000 or $10,000 title sponsor, right? But for a smaller event like Bike Rodeo, we're asking for a $2,000 sponsorship. It all depends on the size of the event and the magnitude of the event, as well as the budget for the event, right? So I think that's one thing that we have to go over as in the subcommittee.
Through the chair, just wanted to make a few quick points. I think that this is a great discussion, and I think that maybe we should probably bring it up as an item in the next agenda so we can have a lengthy discussion on it. But to the point of creating a special, I guess, task force type thing for the or a subcommittee for the sponsorship packages and stuff. Maybe we can also put in that conversation that those people that are on that subcommittee for the sponsorships should try to also make those connections and outreach to those companies. So like that, I mean, when we think about it here, we are representing our council members that appointed us here. We also are representing them to the taxpayer, and if we bring in a good amount of money from private companies like Dr. Sereño's, maybe we can even bring down the the budget of all of our events, and then like that return some money to the council. I think that that'll make our the taxpayers that we represent by virtue of our members. I think that we will make them pretty happy that we are saving some sort of money in their pocketbook. So I think that the subcommittee is a great idea to do those sponsorship package, but add on there also the outreach component where we are also going to go out and say, hey, for this event, and I think that Daniel said it best, there are going to be different needs for different events. So we know which company might say we'll do an in-kind for this, but we'll give a monetary donation for this. So I think that should be also in that conversation for that subcommittee.
All right, and I do completely agree. I don't think we need to amend the motion for that, but they could bring that up as well in the subcommittee meeting. Is there any more discussion regarding this? And before I move on, because I will amend my motion regarding this part, would anyone like to volunteer to be the chair of that subcommittee? All right, I'll volunteer, I guess. I'll be the chair. Or you want to, well, personally, if I would be honest with you, as a
Through the chair,
go ahead.
I could volunteer for that
All
if you have a secretary.
Awesome. All right, so we do have volunteers. Does anyone else want to be a chair? No? All right, so. All right, so we'll do co-chairs with Mark Gomez and Eddie.
If that's
Cedeno.
okay with the chair.
Awesome, and I'll amend my motion to add that to the subcommittee, as well as just having the secretary for the committee be the secretary for that subcommittee. All right, do we have a second for my amended motion?
If I can edit like what you said about the secretary of the committee being the secretary of that subcommittee, I don't think that's fair because from all of our subcommittees, we've been able to choose a different secretary. So I think that'll be worse for like the secretary because that's more of a time commitment. And I think that's something that if they wanna offer their time, because again, subcommittees are not mandatory. It's whoever is volunteering. So whoever wants to offer their time to be on the subcommittee, should be the ones to be able to be considered for a secretary.
All right, we could do that if you'd like.
Yeah,
Would
so I don't
anyone
think-
want to volunteer to be the secretary of the subcommittee?
If I may through the chair, can we, if your motion is still in place, correct, your original one? So is there a way, I mean, if anybody wants to make another motion, but can we do a roll call for your motion? And if anybody else wants to motion another one? You understand what I'm saying? I would like to move forward with your motion, which was to have the secretary of the committee be the secretary of the subcommittee. And I would like to vote on that. And if everybody else, if anybody wants to amend that motion to vote on that.
Well, you have to amend it before you vote.
So is your motion currently as
My,
stands?
my motion now, because I did amend it and I'm waiting for a second for the amendment, is to create a subcommittee meeting. I'm sorry, a subcommittee to create different sponsorship packages for the Youth Activities Task Force events with we have with two co-chairs, Eddie Sereno and Mark Gomez. And my next amendment, which is part of the amendment too, is for a secretary. That's why I asked if anyone wanted to volunteer. It would all be one big motion. So it's easy. So we don't have to vote 3 times.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll volunteer them.
So we do have a volunteer. All right. So we have a second for my motion, the whole motion now. And any more discussion?
Are we still on summer event?
I'm sorry?
Are we still on the summer event?
Yeah.
Before we move on? Okay.
Yeah.
So through the chair, I wanted to talk something about like marketing through text messages.
So before we do that, that's off topic, off of the motion. We'll come right back to that.
Okay.
All right, so let's vote really quickly. Any more discussion regarding this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Did anybody second? Okay, thank you.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Ariana?
Okay, so I was at the registration table nearest to the parking lot, and basically, I think most of the people who attended the event did not sign up through Eventbrite. I only had 56 like attendees through the Eventbrite app that I checked in, but a ton of them, and even some volunteers, they didn't sign up through Eventbrite. So I came up with the idea of possibly making like a huge remind or some type of like text marketing to all like the people who live in Miami Lakes, like all the parents, because most parents, they are on their phone or on their emails, checking everything. And I did speak to one of the parents who was registering her daughter at the events like at that time. And she was asking like, oh, I didn't see the flyer. And I said, okay, you can either go to Instagram. I'm sure they uploaded a picture or a flyer there. And there was. And she said, I think you guys should do something more because it just, sometimes I'll see it and it escapes my mind. I think it would be better if you can like send more reminders. So I do remember back in, I think it was 2016, 2017, Brian, you did do a remind for volunteers and for everyone who was attending the event for Halloween, saying like, hey, there's more volunteer opportunities. I think we should do something similar with the parents of Miami Lakes, where it says like register here for the event and they send the flyer as well, such as like text at YTF events, and they'll send you like constant reminders saying the event is this Friday or the event is this Saturday, please remember, or if for volunteers come at 9, things like that. I think it would be a lot better.
So regarding that, I think, so there is a difference between me sending a remind text to a group of volunteers and then sending it to thousands of parents. Because if you look at it in a large aspect, our biggest event it's over 10,000 participants, right? I don't think Remind accepts over 10,000 people. That's more of a money thing. That's actually a paid service.
Yeah.
We can look into that, but I know it's not cheap, or it may be cheap. I don't know the prices. Maybe we could look into that with the town. That may be a program to implement with the town to send event alerts. Me personally, I would not want to get one of those alerts. I think that's annoying because most people scroll on social media. Everyone now gets all these spam texts, these spam calls, because I get a text every day telling me about a great deal on a car. I don't care about that. I don't want that. So I ignore these text messages and I block these text messages. Me personally, I wouldn't want to receive those text messages. I think it's different when we do remind text when it comes to volunteers because they're looking for that, right? Me as a parent, I'm not a parent, but thinking about it as a person that comes to these events, I wouldn't want to receive all these text messages, right? And I think it's better to just do it through social media and email blasts like we've done in the past. And I'll add another thing. I think Eventbrite is detrimental to our events. I don't like Eventbrite because what he said earlier, and I'm piggybacking off of you, but it's not exactly what you said, but when people see sold out on an event, no one wants to show up anymore. Remember in the past when we had all these giant events where we never had Eventbrite. The only thing we had maybe registration for was, let's say, pumpkin decorating at Halloween or the Easter decorating at the Spring Fling event. That's, I think, what we need registration for. I don't think we need registration. Yeah, I know it's great to see how many people show up, but I think it's detrimental to have ticketed events because then people see that, oh, it's sold out. I'm not going to go. There's no point. I'm going to get turned down at the door.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
I would like to add, I think that for this event, it was very important to have registration because of the nature of the tickets and the ice cream. You needed, people who attended the event needed to hand in the ticket to receive their free ice cream. So I think it is important. I don't think though that it should have been capped before the event took place because Ariana and I had a lot of parents come up to our booth saying that they didn't register an Eventbrite because it was so small in the poster. And so when they got to the event, Ariana and I were opening up our notes app, well, not me, her, and then writing down names and numbers so we could have a more accurate count. So maybe in the future, we could have like Eventbrite pre-registration, but also either we don't cap it or we cap it at a number and then include another way to register at the event itself, like we've done in previous Halloween, like you said, for pumpkin decorating and arts and crafts.
And I think the only reason we're capping right now is due to COVID, unfortunately. But going on in the future, seeing how many people are actually showing up, I don't think we need caps.
Yeah.
We shouldn't put caps at all. Because at the end of the day, your cap, let's say we put 100 people and 50 of those people don't show up. That's 50 open spots. I don't think we need a cap event. I think if we get that many people, then we deal with it when we have to, right? But look at different events. When we had Halloween, yeah, it wasn't capped. You could register it, but everyone showed up anyway because it was never capped. It was never sold out. The only things that were getting sold out was maybe the pumpkin decorating, or if you bought food for the movies at the park event, things like that. I understand having a cap, but not having a cap, I don't like seeing caps for the event itself because that actually, I believe, brings down the attendance.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I also believe that those caps were also paid because my memory could be faulty, but I believe that for pumpkin decorating, parents had to pay a specific amount.
Yes, yeah. And I'm okay with caps for that. Even if whether we're charging or not, I think it's good to know how many people are going to do that specific activity rather than the whole event itself, right? For example, Halloween, we didn't ticket people for trick or treating or for the haunted house. You just went straight in, right? I think that's what we need to do in events in the future here, because at the end of the day, me personally, I'm not going to sign up, right? Most people don't think of signing up online. You're just bringing your kid out to have a good time at the events. Yeah, it's great for counting and having numbers. That's just an estimate. We could add 1,000 people to some of our events, right? That show up out of nowhere. But I think we should look into that, Ernie. Maybe not capping the events, because I think that's what's turning away people from our events.
Through the chair, I just wanted to add a point to that because I agree that when attending the event, I found the capping kind of odd because number one, it was at a public park where we weren't limiting access to anything, and nor could we. So the capping didn't make much sense because it wasn't an enclosed space. And additionally, I found the registration process to be kind of obtuse, considering the only thing people actually needed to register for was just for the free snow cone. If they didn't register, we didn't limit or restrict their access to anything else, not even the slides. So it felt kind of like odd that, wait a second, just registering for a snow cone, not even what the event was for. So I found that, aside from like documentation purposes or, et cetera, I found that process to be kind of like incongruent with what the event was actually, what they were actually getting for the registration.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. And I think, I'll let Ernie finish off, but at this point, I think we could talk about this more at the next meeting because it is getting late already. But
This
Ernie?
is just very quick. Capping an event does have somewhat of an importance. Keep in mind, the reason why we put it at 550. First and foremost, it was just a number that we had thought of. Could you imagine having 4 slides out there like we did, 3 wet slides, 1 dry slide, and having children make a line that will probably take up to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because you do have to take into account if you have 2 children sliding down a slide, they have to come down, they have to get out of the pool for the next couple to go in. It kind of becomes annoying at that point, especially with the heat. So that does capping does have somewhat of a plus. You also have to take into consideration the size, as Brian mentioned earlier, the size of the event. Okay, yes, Halloween, the haunted house. I don't believe there is a cap. And just a quick question, Brian, simply because you've been here and you've done a lot of the events, has there been an event that the town of Lake hosts that does not go through Eventbrite, or everything has gone through Eventbrite?
Well, Eventbrite's only been around for the last 2-3 years. I've been here, and Juan could attest to that. I've been here for almost 9 years, Juan over 15 years. We've done great since before Eventbrite. And I'll be honest with you, since Eventbrite, I think our numbers have gone down, in all honesty, just because of that sold out. Anywhere you go, let's say you want to go to a baseball game. If you see sold out, they may be selling tickets there, but you don't know that, right? Because you saw they're sold out online. So that brings down attendance. And I think that's what's happening at our events. Unfortunately, let's say we were sold out for the bike rodeo. Yes, it wasn't the most attended, but if it was sold out, think about that. We had, let's say 500 people. When we had maybe 150 people show up to that event, not even, but it was sold out. People didn't know that it was not sold out technically. Right?
Keep in mind that one of the main reasons that Eventbrite, I feel, is something that the town uses. It's really just a gauge as to how many attendants or attendees are going to come to the event. Granted, not everybody, as you all know, at least the ones who were there this past Saturday, we had it capped at 550, and we were not even halfway.
Exactly. And that's the point that I wanted to bring across. I understand the caps, but I think the reason we brought Eventbrite, or the town brought in Eventbrite, was to see how many people were coming to these events, right? Not to sell tickets and limit the people coming to the events. The thing is, we've had events in the past where, yes, they're very small events, but we had more people than we ever thought we could have had. You've seen it for Halloween. We had to extend the event by 3 hours one time.
Through the chair, I think what might help is maybe when we go to post the event. I think the Eventbrite thing is not bad because it does actually help promote the event. Eventbrite itself has search engine help with all these types of events. So I don't think it's a bad thing. But I think the way that we put the different options in there may be something we could play with, like general admission, which includes everything, the whole free event. Slide ticket, like you have to get the slide ticket. That also segments people out where like, oh, if I'm going and I'm taking my kid, I'm not getting on the slide. So why would I get 3 tickets? I'm just gonna get 2 tickets for the slide, and you can't enter without the ticket for general admission. And then you have a ticket for the, whatever the sub, the slide, the arts and crafts, the blah, blah, blah. Whether we put money on that or not, like on some of the tickets, that's what we've done before. And I think that's helped us gauge things. The text messaging thing, I think, is a great idea. There's just a lot of text messaging laws in there. But if they could opt in on Eventbrite and then we could mass out a text, like, I mean, I text my patients all the time, and that helps a lot with people getting to appointments.
Eventbrite does have that option.
I don't know if we put phone numbers in. I don't really fill out the form. I just go.
That is another reason why we, whenever we speak to the public on behalf of registering on Eventbrite, is it's one of the neat things about Eventbrite is it sends out alerts. And if you're interested in events for the town of Miami Lakes, or if you're interested in events for Hialeah or for North Miami Beach, whatever city you want to look into, it'll send you an alert and it'll let you know, hey, by the way, there are several events happening this weekend
Yeah.
or within a month.
And I'll attest to that. I'll be completely quite honest with you. I've seen it on Facebook. If you put on Facebook, there's a thing on Facebook where if you put that you're going to that event, you're going to start receiving notifications about events either in the town that relate to those types of events or events in the area. Because I always get notifications, hey, this is happening next weekend, or this is happening in a few months, right? So I think that's one of the things. I think going into that whole texting type of deal, one, it costs money, and two, we can't really control that as a committee. We already know we can't control a lot of stuff in the committee with the whole social media and things like that, right? But I think maybe if we look into that, we can always look into that.
I will investigate and I will ask around and I'll see if there is a fee associated with that kind of service. I would assume there is, but you know what happens when people assume.
Awesome. And we'll definitely bring it up at the next meeting and we can talk about it more. But because it is getting late, I think we should move on. Does anyone else have anything else on the summer event that was supposed to be a very quick recap?
Through the chair.
I
I was just wanted to just ask a quick question. I can understand Eventbrite for the purposes of documentation, engaging event attendance, but does it offer like a feature where it ironically allows for, walk-in registration, like to allow like in the same, category, like, account?
Yes.
It does allow for that?
You can actually sign people up on the actual app, on the organizer app. 'Cause
Daniel,
I've done it before
for the
at
bike
events.
rodeo, there were, I forgot what the number was. We never capped at the bike rodeo event. However, if you, are you referring to just having a family walk up to the registration table?
Yeah, using
and-
Eventbrite
and
to just
registering
register people that
right
come
then and
in.
there?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that absolutely, you
We
can.
should have a QR code.
Yeah,
We should have a
did
QR code on a sign that lets them scan, and basically we should have a check-in QR code and see if
Register
that's
them.
possible, so they could check in as soon as they get there and make our lives easier.
I can look into that.
Through the chair. We actually did that for the bike rodeo, like,
I made a
think-
QR code. just putting it
Yeah,
out
he
there.
made a QR code, and so we all had it on our phones at the registration table. They scanned our phone and they started signing up. And because it was a long process for them, or some people weren't like that tech savvy, we kind of signed them up through the Eventbrite organizer app. So it was like a lot faster. But I was also thinking, like, if Eventbrite isn't really working out because of like so many people not showing up or of the caps, is it possible to bring back like paper registration? Like, I know that was a little bit stressful a couple of years ago, but I don't know.
I'd say it's easier to do through Eventbrite because then they have to insert every single paper into the system.
Ariana, most municipalities are
And
turning to
paperless.
Oh,
Just,
okay.
just,
Going
yeah,
green.
they're trying to go through the technology.
Through the chair quickly, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry, Flavia, I know you want to speak. And Flavia, if you want to speak, please go ahead. But I kindly ask
stop.
the,
We'll let them finish and then you can go. Go ahead.
No, Moritz can go, he started, so.
I just wanted to kindly ask the committee, please, to defer this item. I'm really sorry to cut off the discussion. I love what's going on, but please, I mean, I have school really early tomorrow. If we could
Yeah, I
please just add an item to the agenda, at registration and an advertisement for the next meeting. Brian,
I
if you
said
would
I
be so
want-
kind, I really do apologize, Flavia, but it's just, we have a bunch of other items to
Are
get
we
to.
good? Everyone's good? We'll move on to item 6, which is the committee secretary voting for the election of to either keep this current secretary or to elect a new secretary. We did speak about this at the last committee meeting, and we did vote to have this on the agenda for this committee meeting. Before we go into this, I just want to bring up some things. Flavia, I think you're a great committee member. Unfortunately, you haven't been here for the past few meetings, and the secretary position is one of the most important jobs on the committee because they're the person that takes all the notes and has all the information for us at the next meeting. I know you've been busy with school, but it may be a good idea to let someone that can come to every single meeting, can do everything to have this position, as it is a very demanding position and one of the most important positions in the committee. That is up to you. If you'd like to keep it, you would have to be nominated for that position again. At this point, I will be opening nominations for the position of secretary, and I would like to nominate Maritza Costa for secretary. Do you accept the nomination?
I do.
All right. Anyone else want to nominate anyone?
I nominate Flavia Nunez.
You accept the nomination? Perfect. Do we have any more nominations for secretary? And if anyone has anything to add before, just keep in mind, this is not against anyone here. It is just because of the fact that it is a very important committee position. Yes, I know you have school, but we do want someone, and it is very hard to, at every meeting, appoint someone to be the secretary. That is the only reason I did bring this up at the last meeting. And it's nothing against anybody. It's to have someone that's been at every single meeting and can get those minutes done quickly, and done efficiently. All right, any more nominations before I close the nominations? Seeing none. It looks like, I think no, we don't need a motion, if I'm correct. Do you know, Ernie, we don't need a motion because we did nominations. Yeah, maybe he could shed light, exactly. It's late already. So quick question, Lorenzo, and thank you for being here. When it comes to committee elections for officers, we do our nominations. Does there have to be a motion, or we vote first for who we want and then there is a motion to accept them as or how does that work? We just vote who we want as the officer? Well, we voted last time to host a new secretary to be part of the committee, or to elect a new secretary. Okay. All right. So, well, how would we go at this point? Because we have two nominations, so it's invalid, correct? All right. And as well as the committee can, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, we can vote to remove the officer from that officer position. The committee can vote for that. That's what I was told, so. But there's nothing to say we can't. That's why, yeah, it's very. Okay. 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 Perfect, thank you. Yep. So it would be up to you, Flavia, at this point. Like I said earlier, unfortunately, like he said, we do not have that youth rule where after 3 meetings you are removed. I believe you have missed the past 3 meetings or more. So it would be up to you if you'd like to resign or not.
As far as monthly meetings, it's been the past 2, June and July. But honestly, like, I don't want to be selfish. Like, I'll resign if you guys want to. So if there's any way we can have a vote.
It's not being selfish. It's not about that. The whole point was it's your decision. And Ernie, if you have something.
I have something to say through the chair. You're putting her on the spot. Okay, I don't think she should resign, but you're actually putting her on the spot, which is not fair to her.
That's fine. I completely agree. If we wanted to, we can table this for the next meeting. If she does, hey, Ernie, go ahead. I'll let you go.
Flavia, if you feel that, and I completely understand because you had mentioned it earlier in the meeting, if you feel that you will be in attendance, I don't see why you have to feel forced to resign. Okay, just, and I want to make that very clear. Okay, yes, what Brian mentioned earlier today, there is an importance to your seat, just like there is to every seat here. But what Officer Juan just finished stating, do not feel, and we don't want you to feel pressure. Okay, you make your decision, and that's that.
Yeah, and it's nothing, like I said earlier, it's nothing against you. It's nothing against anyone. I said this at the last meeting. If I was a chair that stopped coming to these meetings, the same thing would probably happen, right? I would, me personally, I'm not going to go into details. I would resign because I don't have time for it, right? But it is your decision. We don't have to do this today. Doesn't have to happen at all, right? If you want to keep your position, please just keep in mind, it is a very important position to the committee. And we do need people to show up to these meetings if you are an officer, because it is very important that we have someone take minutes and do what their duty was and what they were elected for in the committee. And that goes for myself as well as Eric Valerdi. We were both elected as, I was elected chair, you were elected vice chair. We have our duties, so does the secretary. So at this point, I would like to close I would like to motion to remove this item from the agenda, and we see where it goes from there. Do we have a second? We have a second by Maritza Costa. Any discussion regarding this?
So we're not gonna have this on our next meeting, right? Because I know you still want to table it.
The only time we would have this on our meeting is if she does end up wanting to resign.
Okay.
Or
yeah,
if
just-
anyone wants to resign. If you want to resign or I want to resign, then it would be brought up in the next, in whatever meeting that leads up to that.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure it's not gonna show up in any agendas in the near future.
Of course. So we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. We'll move on to item 7, which is Halloween. This is going to be very quick. Halloween is quickly approaching. Yes, I know it's August, but this is one of our biggest events in our committee as well as the town. So I'd like to motion to create a subcommittee for this event. And I would also like to volunteer to be the chair for this subcommittee. And I do need, if anyone wants to volunteer to be the secretary for the Halloween event.
I'll volunteer.
So we have Flavia, thank you. And do we have a second for this motion to create the subcommittee?
I'll second.
We have a second. All right, perfect. And do we have any discussion? And I actually like to amend this motion, my apologies, to give the subcommittee full power for the event regarding the voting and how the event is going to be put together, and bring back all ideas and votes back to the committee as a report. Do we have a second to that amendment?
I have a question, just so we know like the process. So if we second a motion, can we still amend it after?
If you amend it, you have to second it again.
No, I'm saying, because we already made the motion and then we seconded it. So I'm just asking for like future times. So I know
Yeah, so,
first.
so basically, without that second, because you already seconded it, it's already in that voting stage, right? You're going through that motion. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Lorenzo. But once you second a motion, it's already in play, correct? You do have to vote unless the person that motioned it. Then we could amend it, correct? There you go.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I did bring up that amendment and I do need a second.
I'll second that.
So we do have a second to the amendment with the motion. Any more discussion?
Through the chair, I personally don't think that we should get everything approved by the subcommittee. I think it should be brought back to the committee for all final approval on the event dynamics, like we've done usually with those, like the map, the sponsorship stuff, all that together. I think that was part of the problem where the subcommittee probably did a little, just basically did everything. I get that it's a really tough meeting and getting all together and everything, but I think it's best if the committee approves it, as long as we have a little bit of time. So I think we're
We
in a
have
good
2
timeline.
meetings in between.
Yeah, so I think the subcommittee needs to meet between now. I think that's the a better amendment, to make sure they meet before our next meeting and present bring us ideas.
I'd say at least once or twice before this meeting. I
That's
agree.
fine.
Okay, if you want to, would you like to do the amendment to the motion?
Well, do we have to vote?
You know what? Let's scrap the motion. I'll just make a brand new motion. Or we could scrap it, right? If the person motioning can scrap a motion if they don't want it, Lorenzo. I want to make sure I'm covering my bases. Yeah, we could amend it and add it.
So I'd amend the motion so that the committee has the final power on approving everything
So we
together
have an
at the next
amendment?
meeting, and that they will bring, they'll meet before our next meeting.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and say the whole motion. The motion is to create a subcommittee giving power to make decisions for the event, but coming back to the committee for the final decision and final vote for the event itself and the elements of the event, with me volunteering as chair and Flavia volunteering as the secretary for the event. And do we have a second to that amendment?
Second.
We have a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. We do have a subcommittee. Before we move on, we did not do this for the subcommittee for the sponsorship packages, so we'll do that now as well. I want to get at least a list so we know who's going to want to be part of each subcommittee. For the sponsorship event, we have Mark and Eddie as co-chairs and Maritza as the secretary. I'll also join the subcommittee for the sponsorship subcommittee. Would anyone else like to be part of the committee?
I'll join as well.
Eric,
And I'll join as well.
Daniel? Anyone else for the sponsorship subcommittee?
I'll join as well. I'll volunteer.
Flavia and Ariana? Anyone else? Perfect. All right. And I will get in contact with, or Mark and Eddie, if you can get in contact with Ernesto to set up dates for those meetings, that'd be great. All right, and then for Halloween, myself, Flavia. Anyone else that would like to be part of the subcommittee for Halloween? Eddie,
I'll volunteer.
Moritz, Ariana, Eric, Mark, and Daniel. Anyone else? I will also put together, or I'll also get in contact with the liaison to schedule these meetings. Please, you guys showed interest in being a part of these subcommittee meetings. Please try to make a priority to join them. I know for my subcommittee, since I'm chairing the Halloween, I will try to aim to make it later. Maybe not too late, but in a way where it works for everyone, where you can get out, if you are in school, you can get out of school, have time, not rushing to a meeting, but not being too late. Okay, that's my commitment to those that wanted to join the Halloween subcommittee.
Will the subcommittee meeting times be posted on the Miami Lakes website?
They should, yes. I believe every meeting that we have is posted, so it is a public meeting and it has to be posted. All right. Anything else on Halloween? One thing, please bring ideas to the table, to the subcommittee. Please bring ideas to the committee. If you have anything, send it to Ernie. Bring ideas. Maybe we could go back to what we've been doing. We did get remarks from the council that they want us to go back to how we've done events in the past. So maybe not do another drive-through, maybe go back to how we did it where we had a lot more people in the past, and bringing back our traditional event to this committee and bringing more success to the town, right? So bring back ideas. We'll do that in the subcommittee as well. Brainstorm. Let's make this event great. have fun. This is one of our events. This is the first event I ever did with the town. That's why I take so much passion or have so much passion for this event. And I want to have a lot of fun. It's one of the, I think personally, me, it's one of the funnest events and one of the more serious events because it is a nighttime event. So bring ideas to the table and we'll have a fun time and hopefully you guys can show up to the subcommittee as well for the sponsorship packages for that subcommittee. Bring ideas if you guys have any ideas. If Ernie, if you can get access to how we used to have our sponsorship packages and bring copies of those just as an example, I think that would be very beneficial to that subcommittee. All right, anything else on Halloween? Are we aiming for Halloween night? What day does that drop? It's a Sunday. So we might be doing the Saturday before, which is the 30th, which is what we traditionally do is the Saturday before, unless there's no school on that Monday. But I don't think we usually do events Sunday unless we have to. Right. All right. Anything else on Halloween before we move on? Awesome. For 7A, the Youth Employment Initiative, I'll be before Moritz, before we go any further. This event is usually done in the beginning of the year, towards March, April, or even May. I would say tabling this for a few months until we get to that point. That is my personal opinion, but if you have anything, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. So I did some research and the last 3 years, I believe, I looked at 2017, 2018, and 2019. There was not one in 2020. You are correct that 2 out of those 3 years, it was done at the beginning, but I did find 1 year where it was done at the end in October. Now, I just want to make sure we cover all our line items. The budget year does reset, I believe, October 1st. So that would mean that if we leave it, that line item is discarded, and I would not like that to happen. I don't want to give any wrong idea at the council that we're asking for budgets that we're not utilizing. I do agree on the fact that we should table this. I don't want to rush our meetings, but I understand that it is late, and I would agree to table this, but I just wanted to make it a point that I think we should use it before the budget year resets. Thank you.
I'll be honest with you, at this point, we have had to cancel events due to the pandemic, and we can have this one under that cancellation of event because it's usually at the beginning of that year. It's usually before summer. Statistically, we've done it before summer to give high school students and college students the opportunity to have summer jobs, right? So I think at this point, I wouldn't try to put this as an event for this fiscal year and save it for the next budget year. To lose what? The budget? I don't think so. I would not. That's on a statistical standpoint, personally, or as a committee standpoint too, I would not have it during this time because then what happens is when you have this event, especially now when we usually do it at a certain time of the year, this is like moving Halloween. If you move Halloween to April, it looks kind of weird because then people expect it to be April of next year. That's just an example though,
Very
right?
good example.
So not a really good example, but has the same purpose of what I'm trying to get out. If we have it now, then people are going to expect it to happen at this time next year. And people are not going to be interested when we do it in May or April or March, whenever we do it. So I don't.
Through.
Yeah.
Through
It's
the chair.
done. Go ahead.
Is it's about $100 and something. It wasn't too much, right?
So for the 2021, 2021, it's 150. I know someone, I think it was Josh Rios, for the next year will be 200, hopefully, if that gets approved.
Yes, if it is approved.
So, I mean, it is a small budget. The only other thing that would come up to mind is to try to utilize it as something associated with employment, but not necessarily that event. Maybe a resume workshop for kids or something like that, something very simple, or a digital resume workshop. I don't know, a webinar. I'm just thinking out loud. we could use that money for something that could help you with employment. That is not a youth employment fair, if that makes sense.
That is true. It's called the Youth Employment Initiative, not the Youth Employment Fair.
Well, if I can add, so I think that's a good idea to have some form of, because people are still looking for jobs, to be honest. It's not something that's has to happen in May. I don't think relating it to Halloween is a good example because, you know, Halloween is obviously Halloween. I don't think people looking for a job only happens in May. So I feel like that's a good idea to have it something, resume building or something to put it to use. But I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah, ultimately, it's towards the committee. At this, it's already 10 o'clock or past 10 o'clock. I'd say honestly, we'd have to plan this whole event. There, it's including, and when will we have this, in October? We don't like having events so close to each other as well. If you look at our events, they are spaced out. The reason they're spaced out is so we're not cramming events and everyone has time to make plans in advance. I think if we would have planned this at the beginning of the year or closer to a few months ago, I think it could have been done. But now that we have technically we have two meetings before the next budget year after this.
Through the chair, would we be able to maybe bring this up for discussion in the next meeting and maybe see if there's something that we can allocate the funds and maybe even have an event in November and something like that? I'm just
We
saying
can, we could always
so like
bring that up because we did do that with movies at the park.
Perfect. Yeah, so like that we can try to.
We could try to see if we could do anything like that, or we'll bring ideas to the next meeting. And then we can go from there and see what we can do. That's what I was. Yeah. Yeah. We could always look into that option though, like you said, to maybe doing it in November, but I think that's even later and that's too late. If we're going to do it, it would have to either be at the beginning of September or at the next, after the next meeting, but I would not have it in October because we already have an event in October. And me personally, I wouldn't even want to have it at this point. Just like we canceled some of our other events, we may have to cancel this event. Like we canceled bike rodeo, but still got the budget for bike rodeo. This is not an event that takes $30,000. This is a event that takes $150. So with this event, we could even ask for if we wanted to do it with a $0 budget. So what we can do is we've always added a budget item. So if it's not budgeted towards us, we could always add it after. Because we've done that in the past. We did that with the Christmas parade. So it wasn't part of our budget, but we added it to our budget, right? As a $0 event. Yep. Yep. Well, technically our events don't have to be on that specific date. We don't give out certain dates. So that's what our committee is here for. We have that power to move events around, right? Statistically, I think it's better to keep the events at the same time that they're usually around, at least in the same area time or the same month, just because people expect it to be around that time, right? You don't want to move one event from, and I know I said Halloween, but in all reality, it's kind of true. Look at it. If you want another example of the event, look at bike rodeo. It's in the middle of the summer. We have it for a reason in March or April because it's a lot cooler, right? So just think of it, there's different ways to think of things. If you start moving around events, people expect it to be earlier. I know it changed because of COVID, but they want us to start going back to our normal type of events. And I think going back to our normal type of schedule might be beneficial to us as well. Flavia?
This is just playing the devil's advocate, but I understand people like schedule and routine, but wouldn't something be better than nothing? If we already have the budget for it and planning the event itself, I mean, the money would be used for food, for getting people to come to the event, or what would the money, because you said that it was usually $0.
No, this is not a $0 event. This event has always had that dollar amount, but I'm saying that what I said about $0, if it is removed from our event list or removed from our budget because we didn't do it, we could always add it the next budget or whenever we wanted to. Like we've added, for example, the Christmas parade. That wasn't part of our line items. We added that to our line items in the middle of the year, right? We could always add this event if we wanted to as a $0 event Most of the time, they don't say no because they're not putting any money towards it if we had to. It is a very low budget event.
Would we have to motion to table it to the next event?
No,
To the next, I'm sorry, the next meeting?
no, because we don't have a date for this event yet. We have nothing for this. We could bring it to the next meeting. This is,
Through the chair. But I think his reasoning is that since we have the money, it's before the budget, to just do it at that time. If you want to have it twice a year, go ahead and do that. But I think his reasoning is we have the money now,
that's the
do
thing.
it before but it's not about changing dates, it's just when to use the money.
Do we have the money? Because we voted as a committee to move all remaining funds to the summer event. So that's the real question, if we even have the funds for this event. So I'd say we'd bring this back at the next meeting with numbers so we can see if we're even gonna do it or not. I'll be completely honest with you. Remember, you guys voted, or the committee voted for me to present to council to move all remaining funds to that summer event. So we may not even have money for that event. All right. Is there anything else? Perfect. And if you'd like, you can always ask Ernie to add it to the agenda. I don't have to add it. If there's anything, remember guys, if there's something that you don't see on the agenda when he sends it to you, or if you have something that you want to add to the agenda, you could email Ernie. I'm not the one that, yeah, I send them the agenda, but you could always send him stuff to add to the agenda. I don't have to add everything. If you think there's something that needs to be added to the agenda, feel free to add it, okay? Cool, because sometimes I forget. I have a lot going on with work, and at the end of the day, you can't remember everything. So I try as much as I can with the agenda, and that's why we added stuff to the agenda, as you can see, because I did not remember to put it there, okay? All right, so we'll move on to announcements. Do we have any announcements? All right, no announcements, by the way. Good luck, everyone that just started school today, or even last week. I know some people started last week. Wishing you well this school year. Do good, do your work, get it done. You guys got it.
Through the chair.
Ready?
Just to note, it is 10:17. If we could have meetings a little earlier. I know that it's crazy with having everyone to be in this room, but with students
Yeah.
on our committee, I think we should try to make it a priority.
So
I prefer this time personally. 'cause I get
usually
to
our
like-
meetings are at 7 or 7:30 on the first Wednesday of every month. This month, we had to do it differently because there was something scheduled before our meeting on that day, and there were no spaces for us. I think they were all after 8:30. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, basically that's about it. Any more announcements before we adjourn? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
I'll
The
second-
meeting
I'll
is,
second the motion.
we have a second, a motion and a second. The meeting is adjourned at 10:18 PM. Have a good night, everyone.